I can record it, and maybe anyone who needs that will. Okay. Okay. I was sharing this. Can you see my screen? The
It says Inova Health System EKG review.
Yeah, you can see that. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we are going to revise the whole EKG here. Okay. First, let's start with the EKG paper. So as you know, we discussed on the EKG paper like before. Uh, basically, there are two kinds of EKG paper most likely used, and one of them is the thermal paper, which is the thermal is the one that is heat sensitive. So it is the thermal, it is heat sensitive. Let's say, for example, if you put that paper under like the sun or at the back of your car, it might like it doesn't burn, but it may change to the kind of like an ash like stuff, but it's not burning, but it changed the color because of its sensitivity to heat. The other one is the one that we use it here is the thermal one. So the thermal, which is the heat sensitive. So the other one is the dot. It uses like dots instead of the squares. So the thermal one, you can see it uses like the little squares here. So this is very important for us, especially in analyzing EKG. So we have two squares here. One is the little square, and the other one is the big square with the hard lines here. So the little squares are 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter. So that is 1 by 1. So this is 1, 1. And the big square will be 5 by 5. It contains 5 across horizontally and 5 like vertically. So these are the two main components. So as you know, when we discuss EKG, we have especially two axes that we discuss. One is the horizontal axis, which is this axis here, and the other one is the vertical axis, like this axis, like here, this one and this one. So when we go horizontally, so we are measuring the time. We are measuring the time horizontally. And when we are vertically, we are measuring the voltage. So that is how it's important for us. For now, we don't deal much on our voltage, but just we deal on our time uh, usually. So in time, the little square, if you see the little square, so the 1 millimeter little square is 0.04 watts seconds. It's 0.04 seconds. That means this one little square, when we go like across like this, that's 0.04. This is 0.04, 0.04, 0. So 5 of them, which is the big square, 5 of them will be how much? It will be, let's say the 0.4, 0.04, 0.04, 0.04, 0.04. It means we multiply 0.04 by 5. So the big square will be how much? 0.2 second. So you go on and on like that. So let's say here they took how many big squares? One big square, 2, 3, 4, 5 big squares will be 1 second. 5 big square will be 1 second. Okay, how do you do the math? What you do will be you multiply by 5 by what? By 0. No, actually 5 is the big square. So so we multiply this one by 0.2 because each big square is 0.2 second, yes? So each big square is 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. So total will be how much? 1 second. So that means like 5 big squares will be 1 second. So that is how we calculate the horizontal or the time. So when we go like vertical, each little square will be how much? It will be 0.1 millivolt. So in this case, it will be the voltage. So it will be millivolts. So each little square, like vertically here, this one is 0.1 millivolts. 0.1 millivolts. So, so that is the basics on the EKG paper. So 1 millimeter horizontally is 0.04 second. 1 millimeter vertically is 0.1 millivolt. So this is what we call as the standard grid. Standard grid. Standard grid. So standard grid means 0.04 by 0.1. That's called standard grid. Yes. So those small grids, they have a value. So that is the basic how we go on this. So we have also like 4 standards. Yes, we have one is the first, the basics is standard grid. The second one is standard speed, which is 25 millimeter per second. Yes, and the standard amplitude or voltage, or the other name is what we call gain or sensitivity. Gain or sensitivity. So that one is, so usually we put at what? At 10 millimeter per millivolt. Yes, that's the standard amplitude, or which is called gain or sensitivity. And the other standard is, which we call the standard calibration. Calibration. So this one is, if you are doing with the standard speed and the standard amplitude, which is standard speed 25 and standard amplitude 10, then your it will be 10 by 5. 10 by 5. That means you will have the little squares like 10 and the small squares horizontally 5. So it will be, so it shows that when you are doing with a speed of 25 and amplitude of 10, then your calibration will be 10 by 5. In case if you are reducing the amplitude to half of this, which is 10 millimeters, so it will be 5 by 5. 5 by 5. So, so 25 is using what? Amplitude of 10 and 25 speed. But this one shows amplitude of 5, but the speed is 25. So these are the, what we call our 4 like standards. Okay.
Sorry, can you just repeat? I heard you, but just so that it's better for me, can you just repeat just the last part about the standard calibration? I understand 10 being the...
Okay. It's gone. Okay. Let me, yes, you're right. So the standard calibration is, you know, on your EKG, you will see a mark that shows 10 by 5. Like it's like a mark that is, it is like this. I'm not sure if you, it's like this mark. Did you ever see that?
Yes, we do see it on the ones
Yeah,
that we printed out from class.
that is the one which is called calibration.
Okay.
So when you are using like 10 of the amplitude and 25 of the speed, then the calibration will show you 10 by 5. That means you will have 5 little squares here, and you will have 10
Of the
start.
amplitude. Okay.
Yes, the amplitude. But when you use half of the amplitude, which is like 5, sometimes we are putting our machine on auto, yes? When you
Yes.
put on auto, it will like shift it or switch it from 10 to 5, 5 to 10. So that means it will maintain your the size of the vectors of each of the leaves. So in that case, it will be 5 by 5, which is you are using amplitude of 5 and the speed of what? 25.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So these are the 4 calibrations. Okay, now let's okay. Basically, I think we have discussed these ones, but just we revise them. They are important for our analysis. So this is what we call one heartbeat. One heartbeat. Yes, that means when the heart beats like once, okay, that means the EKG will trace it from here up to like here. Yes. So basically, it contains 2 phases. One cardiac cycle has 2 phases. One is contraction phase and the relaxation phase. That means that the phase where the heart contracts and the phase when the heart like relaxes. So that is one heartbeat. Both of them will be one heartbeat. So when the contraction, that is a systole, and when the relaxation, that is a diastole. So here on the EKG, it will show us both of those phases. So we have, this is the contraction of the atria, when the atrium like contracts, and this one is contraction of the ventricles, and this one is relaxation of the ventricles. So the contraction of the relaxation of the atria is not visible here. Why? Because it is hiding behind the QRS. It should be here, but it's hiding so that it is masked by the QRS. So we can't see it here. So we have contraction of the atria. So this should be the relaxation of the atria, which we can't see it here. Just this is a hypothetical thing. This one is contraction of the ventricles. This one is relaxation of the ventricles. So basically, all these phases, they are there. So from here up to here, it is a contraction phase, and from this onwards, the heart is what? On relaxation phase. So according to this, the heart, I mean our tracing contains three parts. So one is the waves. The second one is what we call the intervals, and the third one we have the what we call segments. So our each of our tracings, they contain these 3 parts. We have the wave, we have the interval, we have the segment. So basically, we have these 5 waves. We have the PQRST waves. So Eindhoven is the first person who was discovered the EKG, and he gave these 5 waves, just PQRST. So these are the 5 waves that are here. So waves are basically the one that go up and down. So we have here one up, this one is down, up, down, and then up. Yes. So these are what we call positive deflections. So these ones are positive deflections. So this one is P, this one is R, this one is T. So these are positive deflections or upward deflections because they deflect up. And these 2 are what? Negative deflections, or they and like down. Okay, so we have upward and downward deflections. So they have their own representation. So P wave stands for what? P wave stands for anything for atrial contraction, or the electrical terminology is what we call depolarization. So this one is the P wave, it is atrial depolarization. Then we have this QRS. So it's usually like classified under the interval, or it's being called like a complex. It's complex. So these QRS waves, they represent what? Ventricular depolarization or ventricular contraction. And then finally comes here the T wave is representing the ventricular relaxation, or which is called repolarization. So these are the terms that we use in this case. That means depolarization.
Question.
Repolarization.
Where-
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Where is atrial repolarization?
Yeah, that's what I told you here, because it's masked by the keyword.
Oh,
So
okay.
we can't
You can't
see
see
it.
it.
We can't see it
Okay.
here on the EKG. So
Yeah.
it should be like here, masked. So we have atrial and ventricular depolarization. So basically, P wave depicts or denotes atrial depolarization, and QRS ventricular depolarization, and T wave represents the ventricular repolarization. So then after this, we have segments. So segments are those lines that are without the wave. So if you see these lines, they are plain lines, they don't have any waves. So especially you can see there is a line that is going through and through here. There is a straight line. This line is what we call isoelectric line. This line is what we call an isoelectric line. Which is isoelectric line. It means, or the other name is sometimes called as polarization, where there is no depolarization or there is no repolarization. It means it's like a zero constant line. It doesn't change. There is no electrical change on this. So that is a line that's represented here. It's called isoelectric line. So from this line, the waves are coming up and down. Can you see here? We have up, we have down here, we have up, we have down here, we have up. So it goes like this. So the segments are just these lines where there is no change, there is no electrical activity, no depolarization, no repolarization. So these are, so we have here two of the segments. We have PR segment and we have here the ST segment. So PR segment starts from the end of P wave to the beginning of Q wave, and ST segment starts from the end of S wave to the beginning of T wave. So these are particularly two of the segments here. Then we have what we call intervals. Intervals. So intervals are both waves and the segment. Can you see? We have the wave, the segment. So everything from here, beginning of P to the beginning of Q is what we call the PR interval. And here also, maybe it's not mentioned here, but we have also ST interval from the end of S up to the end of T. And we have the longest interval here. You can see it contains many waves. It contains QRS, contains T wave, and it's the longest wave, which is called QT interval. QT interval. So if you remember on the analysis, I think any value less than 0.44 is a QT interval. It's a normal QT interval. So these are always when we see the EKG tracing for analysis. These are the things that we need to keep in mind, and then we need to see the waves. There are what? Segments and intervals. So these are the things that we need to calculate. Okay. If you have any questions, then let me know. Now, so once we saw this one, then we will go to the rhythms. So so always in order, so that is what we call interpretation. So our 3 steps in EKG will be 1, you perform EKG or conducting EKG, then analyze the EKG, analysis, and then after the analysis, then you interpretation. So that will be our steps. Yes. So always we have to base our interpretation on our analysis. So we base our interpretation on our analysis. So we have to know what we mean by the analysis. So our main steps of analysis, you can see it also on the student work with the worksheet. So the first is what? Rhythm, yes? So rhythm, we have 2 rhythms. We have ventricular, which we check for RR, and atrial rhythms, which we check for PP. It means if you see here, when I check from R to R, that is what? Ventricular rhythm. So I check R to R, R to R, R to R, all of them. Let's say in this case, R to R looks to be what? The same. And when I check P to P, this is P, the next P. So P to P to P, P to P. It's also the same. Yes? So if the rhythm is, in this case, is what? It's regular, because it's going in the same pattern from RR to PP. So RR is showing us the ventricular rhythm, and PP is showing us the atrial rhythm. So that is the first thing that we need to. And the next thing that we need to see will be the rate. So we have different methods of calculating heart rate, but the most important that we need here will be the 1500 method, and we have the 6-second method. We have also the sequence and the block method, but we stay on this ones here. So after determining the rhythm, if your rhythm is regular, then you use 1500 method. If your rhythm is irregular, you use 6-second method. Yes. So 1500 method is used for regular rhythm, and 6-second method is used for irregular rhythm. So what do we do for 1500 method? So we divide 1500 by the number of little boxes between R and R. Count the number of what? Little boxes between what? R and R. Yes, so let's say, for example, here you have R and R. Count the number of little boxes here. It looks, you have 15 here, and you have additional some 3 boxes. It looks like, let's say, if we have 18 boxes here. So what we do will be 1500 divided by 18 will be the heart rate.
And that's because
Yeah.
each big one is 5, right? So we did the 5 times 3 to get the original 15.
Yes. So
Okay.
each one is 5. So 5 times 3, we have 15. Then add the small additional boxes which are not like complete.
Okay, thank you. Just making sure.
Yeah.
The small
Okay.
one, how will you add it?
The small boxes,
Uh,
you add this one, for example, is halfway. It
half.
doesn't, it does, yeah. So you add whatever the little boxes are. So so you add those additional boxes. In this case, they are not really well visible, but you add those little boxes.
Yeah, so are you adding only the top box or you are adding the 3 little
Eh?
ones?
You add the remaining boxes. Count the big boxes first, yes?
So the big
Let's say
box,
you have one big box here, another big box here, third big box, then you are left over small boxes here. Can you see?
uh-huh.
So you add them to that. So each big box is 5 little boxes. So we have 5 here, 5, 5, 10, 10 plus like let's say 3 here. We have 15 plus 3 will be 18. Okay. So that is on the heart rate. Then after the heart rate,
Can you show us how to do the can you show us the 6-second method really quick? I forgot how to do that one.
yeah, 6-second method will be when it is irregular. Then what you do will be, usually most strips will be, let's say if they are asking you, okay, calculate using 6-second method the heart rate, usually they will give you the 6-second strip. But if 6-second strip is not given, for example, in this case, this is not 6-second strip. It's just small strip, yes? So I have to count 6-second strip. So how many seconds is this one? Because each big box is how many seconds? 0.2, yes? So how many big box do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 multiplied by what? 0.2 will be 2.8. Yes. So this is a 2.8 second strip. Okay. So I need more of this to calculate that. That means I need the whole 6 seconds in order to calculate. But let's say assuming this is a 6 second, what you do will be count how many QRS do you have in that 6 second. Let's say in this case you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say you have 5, 6, 7, 8. When you continue to have 6. Okay, let's say you have 7 of them. Then what do? Multiply 7 by 10. And then you will have 70. 70 will be what? The heart rate. You got it?
Yes, and 6 seconds is normally 30 boxes. Is that correct?
30 boxes. So you have to count
Okay.
30 boxes.
Okay.
But in most EKG strips, there are, if you see your EKG strips on top, there are some lines, fine lines here that gives like the 3 second, 3 second, or for each second you have 1 second. For example, this is 0.2. This is what 0.2. Okay, so you will have on top those small fine lines where it gives you each 1 second, or you have a 3 second, okay, a hard line. So 3 second, 3 seconds. So you can easily count it on there. But if you don't have all those like signs here, what you do will be you count 30 boxes, 30 big boxes. So that will be our rate. Then after the rate, we need to check what? The P wave. We need to check P wave. So P wave will be our third parameter. P wave So P wave should be what? It should be upward. Okay. It should be round. It should be symmetrical. And it should be, there should be one P wave for each QRS. There should be one P wave for each QRS. So 1P, so like this, for example, 1P, 1 QRS. 1P, 1 QRS. 1P, 1 QRS. 1P, 1 QRS. So it should continue like that. So if the P wave is like this, in this case, for example, it's upward. If you see it, it's upward. And if it is round, and symmetrical, which means half side face the other half. And if there is one P wave for each QRS, then this QRS is what? A normal QRS. A normal QRS. Normal, I mean, normal P wave. We have a P wave. So it's a normal P wave. So that is how we determine the P wave. Then after P wave will be what? The PR interval. PR interval. PR interval. So PR interval means we count the little boxes from the beginning of P here to the beginning of Q. Beginning of P to the beginning of Q. Okay, so in the normal cases, it will be 3 to 5 little boxes. 3 to 5 little boxes. Then when we change it to time, 3 times 0.04 will be 0.12. 3 times 5 times 0.04 will be 0.20. So the normal range of the PR interval will be between 0.12 to 0.2 seconds. That's the normal interval. Anything above 0.2 may show us what we call AV block. AV block, or which is called heart block also. Heart block. So any value above that is the heart block. Then after doing a PR interval, which is you can see from PR from beginning of P to the beginning of Q. Then we have what we call QRS. QRS. So QRS will be from the beginning of Q to the end of S. From the beginning of Q to the end of S. So usually this ranges between 1 to 3 boxes, which will be like 0.04 to 0.12 second. So some may range 0.06, but we can take like 0.04 to 0.12 second as a normal QRS. So anything above 0.12, which is called a wide QRS, it might show a ventricular rhythm, a ventricular issue. So wide QRS may show ventricular issue, ventricular arrhythmias, or ventricular rhythm problems. So that means it's wider than, let's say if it's 0.20 and so on, that means the QRS is wide. So these are our 5 basic analysis. When we are trying to interpret, these are the 5 basic that we use. Actually, there is also QT, but for interpretation purpose, just let's stay on this one. Just I will so QT from the beginning of Q to the end of T. Here is the beginning of Q to the end of T. So that's the longest interval. And QT includes both ventricular contraction and relaxation. Ventricular contraction and relaxation are included here. And the other where we can see QT is also what we call QTC, or which is called corrected QT. I think, did I show you the formulas? If you go like online, you can get your QTC. You can download your QTC calculator. So so can you see my the online part?
Yeah, I can see
Yes, we
it.
can.
Okay. So like I mean there are different like calculators. So you put the values. Okay, what will be the heart rate? You put the heart rate here. Let's say the heart rate is 80. Then let's say your QT interval, let's say you calculated 360. Okay, which is okay, so you have this one in seconds and milliseconds. I think this one should be in millisecond. So now if you calculate the heart rate, so it's giving you this. So we have different formulas here. We have Bazet formula, we have Fredericia for formula, we have the Framingham, Hodge, also there are others. So it gives you those relative values here. So usually the one that we use here will be Hodge's formula. So according to Hodge, your QT corrected QTC will be 395 millisecond. So with the heart rate of 80 and with the QT of 360, your corrected QTC will be 395 millisecond. So we have also, as you saw, it was the Hodge has this formula manually. If you are doing it manually, QTC is equal to QT plus 1.75 multiplied by the heart rate minus 60. Heart rate minus 60. So this is our manual calculation. So we got 395 with our stuff. Let's say if you calculate here this QTC will be the QT, our QT is 360 plus 1.75 multiplied our heart rate is 80 minus 60. So if you calculate this one, I'm sure it will be 395, the one that we got when 395 will be our so that will be in milliseconds. Our correct. So that is when you do it like manually. So that is our analysis, and why we raise it here, because it's very important to understand the interpretation. So now when we go our interpretation, so we classify rhythms into different kinds. So one, we have sinus rhythm, then we have atrial rhythm, we have ventricular rhythm, And we have junctional rhythm. Junctional rhythm. So these are our major rhythms, but we have also like heavy block. We have uh, the bundle branch blocks. Bundle branch block, which is a BBB. When you have 3 bits, it will be bundle branch block. So we have right and left bundle branch. Okay. And actually, it's not like a rhythm issue, but we have also when the myocardium is involved, so we have myocardial issues. Myocardial issues like what? Ischemia. We have the injuries, and we have infarction. Infarction. So these are the three parts of the myocardial issues. Ischemia. So I think last time also we saw three eyes. You can see ischemia, injuries, and infarction. And the other that we see also will be what we call the pacemaker rhythms. Pacemaker. So in general, these are those that we can study now. Okay. So what do we mean by these rhythms? When we say sinus rhythm, what do we mean by that? When we say atrial rhythm, what do you mean by that? That is now important for us. So when we say a sinus rhythm, it means that the rhythm is originating from the SA node. So if you remember, we have the 5 electrical pathways. Here we have the SA node, we have the AB node, bundle of his, right and left bundle branch, and we have the Purkinje fibers here. And we have the 3 internodal pathways where an impulse is passing from the sinus node to the AV node. And we have the Bachmann's bundle where it's passing from the SA node to the left atria. So when an impulse is originating from the SA node, that is called a sinus rhythm. But sometimes there can be what we call ectopic beats. Ectopic beats. Ectopic beats. Ectopic beats. So ectopic beats, they can come from areas other than the SA node and other than the main like generator of the impulse. For example, it can arise either from the right atrium or the left atrium. Let's say it can arise, an impulse can arise, let's say from the left atrium from here, and it can go and it can go to the ventricles. Also, there is an impulse from here, but additionally, there is another impulse from that is called ectopic beat. So when an impulse arising from the atria or ventricles or from any other area here, those are called atrial rhythm, ventricular rhythm, and junctional rhythm. Okay, so it means that how the EKG appears will be different from the sinus rhythm. So always in how do I know if it is a sinus rhythm? Always you will have a normal P wave. You know our analysis, you remember the rhythm, the red, the P wave, QRS, PR interval, yes? So always in this case, I will have a normal P wave and normal QRS, and also normal PR interval. So I will have this normal. P wave, QRS are normal. For example, in this case, when I see the P wave and the QR rays, they are normal here. When we say normal, so we discussed that. P wave is upright, round, symmetrical, one P wave for each color, so normal P wave. QR rays is what? It's a narrow, okay? And our time for QR rays is what? 0.04 to 0.12. So the time is like that. So we have normal QR rays, normal P wave. So it means this is a normal, it is a sinus rhythm. Okay. Now, so when we discuss now, so we'll discuss these different parts like here. So now the sinus rhythm, we can classify it as, now let's go through the classification, okay? We have the normal sinus rhythm, which is called NSR. We have sinus tachycardia. We have sinus bradycardia. We have sinus arrhythmia. We have sinus arrest. We have sinus exit block, which is close similar to sinus arrest. So these are called sinus rhythms. Then after that, we'll go for atrial rhythms. We have atrial arrhythmias. What are they? There are different kinds. WAP, wandering atrial pacemaker, PAC, premature atrial contraction, and that's also a kind of PAC. We have SVT, which is called supraventricular tachycardia. We have PAD, atrial fibrillation, and atrial flutter. So all of these are what? Atrial rhythms. And we have the junctional rhythms, okay, will be like this. So that is now how we are going to study these different kinds. So, but just for us, for our scope here, we will focus on really the most important that we need. So always when we identify the rhythms, we have to use our analysis. So for example, you have this one here. Now from the analysis, so you ask, what is the rhythm? Is that regular or irregular? So you ask that. So in this case, it's what? It's regular. Can you see it's everywhere? It looks this and this. So regular rhythm. So calculate the rate. So what do? Divide the number of little boxes, you count that from what? 1500. So if you take here, you have here like 15, like I have 4. So maybe this and this can be 1. So like 19. So when I divide 1500 by 19, so it is in between of 60 to 100. So that's normal because our normal heart rate is 60 to 100. So and PR interval, what do I do? Okay, I'm a normal sinus here. PR interval from the beginning of P to the beginning of Q. Our normal is 0.12 to 0.20. So which is in that range. And QRS from the beginning of Q to the end of S, which is in the range of 0.04 to 0.12, which in this case less than 0.10. So that means because all the values here are normal, so this kind of rhythm is called normal sinus rhythm. So what's the meaning of that? That means it's arising, originating from where? From the SA node. It's because sinus. Is normal what? Because all the values of our analysis, those 5 analysis values, all of them are what? All of them are normal. There is no any abnormality. So that is called NSR. So that's how we abbreviate it. It is called NSR. NSR. So NSR will be that one. Okay. So that is normal sinus rhythm. So that's how we start. Then let's go sinus tachycardia. Now, what happens here? So we analyze it. Rhythm. So when we analyze the rhythm, when we see the rhythm, is that the rhythm regular or irregular? It's regular. Yes, you can see it's coming in a regular pattern. R wave and the P wave is also coming in regular pattern. So the rhythm is regular. Now, after rhythm, what do I check? For heart rate. Now, if it is regular, what do? I count the little boxes and divide by 1500. I can see here, I have 10. Here, I have 3, maybe 11 boxes. So 1500 divided by 11, that will be more than 100. So that is tachycardia. The tachycardia. PR interval from beginning of P to beginning of Q in this range. So QRS, beginning of Q to end of S. Okay, so this is what? Sinus tachycardia. Why? Because all the values are normal except the rate. Only the rate is faster. But the rhythm is regular, PR interval is normal, P wave is normal, QRS is normal. Only the rate is faster. So that is called sinus tachycardia. Sinus tachycardia. Yes. Then sinus bradycardia. In this case, so all the values are normal except what? Except the rate, which is less than 60. Which is less than 60. So that is called sinus bradycardia. So if you see here, this gap is like wider. So if you count boxes and divide it by 1500, then you can get that. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Big box, so little box will be 40, yes, when I multiply by 5. Then the remaining will be 41. I have 2 here, 43. So if I divide 1500 by 43, that will be a value less than 60. So it's telling us this is what? Bradycardia. But the rhythm is originating from where? From sinus. Why? Because P wave is normal, QRS is normal. So that shows that it's originating from the SNO. So PR interval is normal, QRS is normal. So this one will be sinus bradycardia. Then sinus arrhythmia, the same. That means all the values are normal except the rhythm. The rhythm will be irregular. The rhythm irregular. So if you can see here, this one and like this gap will be different. Can you see? So it shows irregularity. But the remaining, the rest is close to normal. So why sinus? Because P wave is normal, QRS is normal. P wave is, can you see P wave all over? The shape of P wave is the same. Sometimes in atrial rhythms, the shape of P wave may change as it progresses. Let's say as it goes from here to here, might change. So we have QRS is normal, P wave is normal, PR interval is normal. The only thing is the rhythm is irregular. So when the rhythm is irregular, so that is called sinus arrhythmia. So sinus arrhythmia may not be like a pathology. Usually it can occur with respiration. For example, when patient they breathe, okay, like inspiration, taking in air, taking out air. At that time, we might have that change in the rhythm. So, for example, during inspiration, what's going to happen? The heart rate increases. And during expiration, the heart rate decreases. So this change may create this sinus arrhythmia. So this is called sinus arrhythmia. So we saw what? Normal sinus rhythm, sinus bradycardia, sinus tachycardia, sinus what? Arrhythmia. Then we have sinus arrest. Sinus arrest is everything is normal, P wave is normal, QRS is normal, but what's happening is that there is a pause, a stop in the flow of this electrical impulse. For example, if you see here, there is P wave here, then you can see another P wave, but there is a missing QRS here. There should be one QRS here. So there is a pause in the electrical impulse. So what is the cause for this sinus arrest? Usually this is a code blue. Code blue, that means it's a cardiac emergency. So P wave is normal, QRS is normal. So that is why this is a sinus rhythm. Now, that means the problem is there is a failure of SA node to discharge an impulse. At one point, the SA node is sending an impulse, but at one point, it fails to send an impulse. So there is no impulse here. So there is no impulse conduction right here. So that is what we call the sinus arrest. Sinus arrest. A similar kind is what we call sinus exit block. It is also a type of sinus arrest. So the impulse is generated in SA node, but it is generated in the SA node, but it is blocked as it exits. The SA node generates the impulse, but as it exits the SA node, then the impulse is being blocked. And so in this case, there is an impulse transmission is blocked, thus preventing conduction through the atria. So here we have the rhythm, and the underlying rhythm is regular, even if there is, like here, an exit, but the underlying rhythm is regular. So always we need to see the underlying rhythm too. So the red is normal. Okay. And during the pause here, there is no QRS, no P wave. You see it? But in the rest, PR interval is normal from here to here, and QRS is normal. But the only thing is, it's absent during this time here. So this is another kind of sinus arrest. So these are what we call sinus rhythm issues or sinus arrhythmias. Is that clear? How is that? So for the sinus, we have to have, we should know what? Normal sinus rhythms, sinus bradycardia, sinus tachycardia. We have the sinus arrhythmia and the sinus arrest. Then let's go to atrial arrhythmia. So I will not go on all of here what's mentioned. Just we will see only some of them. So there is what we call WAP, the wandering atrial pacemaker. So what's happening here is that there is a shift between the SA node and multiple ectopic atrial sites, causing differences in P wave configuration. It means if you see here, let's say you have the if you see Okay, there is the SA node here. So the SA node emits like an impulse, but also an impulse is being released from multiple focus on the atria. Like it can be from here, can be from here, from multiple area. So what's happening is that because there are multiple sides of impulse production, then the P wave will be different. The P wave that's produced by SA node is different from that of from here, that of from here, that because each of them they produce their own impulse. So on the EKG tracing, we see different shape P waves. So if you see here, can you see here? This P wave and these P waves are different. Can you see? This might be similar, but this one is different here. This one is a bit different. Maybe this and this, they come from the same side. So this one is different. Maybe this one comes from with this side. This one is a bit different. Here, even no P wave. So, you know, there are multiple P waves here, multiple P waves. So that's why it's called wandering. That means the pacemaker wanders from SA node to the other atria, to the other one. So each of them, they act like a pacemaker and it wanders from one to the other. So the P waves will be, they have different shape on each of these tracings. So the identifier characteristic is what? Changing P wave. The P waves are different. So they can change in size, in shape, in direction across all the rhythms. So this kind is called like WAP. So one thing we need to know here is that any change in the P wave, any abnormality on P wave shows us that the SA node has a problem, or it is showing us there is a problem on the atria. So atrial rhythms always they will have an abnormal P wave, but their QRS is normal. QRS is normal. This is in reverse to the ventricular rhythms. In ventricular rhythms, QRS will be abnormal in ventricular rhythms. So always ventricular rhythms, QRS is abnormal. In atrial rhythms, always P wave will be abnormal. So the other one is what we call PAC, premature atrial contraction. So in this case, usually the impulse originates from the atria, usually from one side, from an ectopic side. Okay, so if you see here, these P waves, they are the same here, but there is a difference here. Can you see? This wave P wave is different. So, and this comes, can you see? The whole beat comes from the other ectopic beat, from the ectopic side, from the atria. Okay, because that atria, it sends an impulse, so everything goes to the ventricle, it creates this one. So that's why now here, this is a PAC, but it shows some irregularity here because this is the next SA node wave, okay? But before the next one comes, an ectopic beat creates one already here. So that is what called premature atrial contraction. Before the next SA node impulse is coming, the atria releases one more of that one. So this is called PAC, premature atrial contraction. So let's go to the most common one that we need. So the other one is what we call SVT, which is called supraventricular tachycardia, or sometimes it's called atrial tachycardia. It's an important rhythm. So as it's a tachycardia. So for example, if you see here, there is tachycardia here. So the commonest picture of this one is P wave is usually absent because of the atrial tachycardia, because of the fast heart rate, you can see. So P wave is like, you can see it here. Like everywhere you have T wave, but it's masked. The P wave is masked. So from our analysis, rhythm will be what? Rhythm is regular. Rate is, so because it's regular, what do? I divide 1500 by 6 by 8. Yes, which is a lot, which is close to 200. Okay, so it's tachycardia. So when we come from the sinus rhythm to atrial and ventricular, you know, the number of factors that are being abnormal will increase. Usually in sinus rhythm, only one parameter will be not normal. Let's say if the sinus tachycardia, the rate is not normal. Sinus bradycardia, the rate is not. Sinus arrhythmia, the rhythm is not normal. Only one parameter of our analysis will not be normal. So in case of atrial rhythms, now it increases. Usually 2 or more of our analysis, the values will change. So now here the rhythm is regular. Now the rate is what? Fast. So that's one abnormality, tachycardia. So if you have more than one abnormality, then do not go to sinus rhythm. It should be what? Either atrial or ventricular rhythms. So P wave, no P wave, yes? There should be one P wave for each QRS, yes? So we don't have any P wave here. So it's abnormal. So P wave is abnormal. PR interval is abnormal. Why? We don't have any PR interval because we don't have any P wave, so you can't calculate PR. So our third parameter, QRS, that should be okay. But we have three abnormalities here: red, P wave, PR interval. So we are out of the sinus rhythms. So now we give this one as the nomenclature is a bit different, but usually it's known as SVT, which is called supraventricular tachycardia.
Question, please. So, as you mentioned, despite all the irregularities like the tachycardia because the heart rate was so high, the abnormal P waves, etc., because the rhythm is regular, that's why we were still able to do the 1500 divided by the 8.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because the rhythm is regular. Yeah. Okay. So SVT is often used interchangeably with atrial tachycardia, but more accurately, SVT is an umbrella term. So that's the commonest term that's being used rather than atrial tachycardia. SVT is the commonest term. Okay. Okay, so I will pass some of really not common ones. So what we need the most important, atrial fibrillation and atrial flutter. We need them. So let's see them. First, let's see the atrial flutter. Atrial flutter. Now, what do we see here? So first, let's see the rhythm. Yes, the rhythm. Yeah, the rhythm usually in case of atrial flutter, it can be regular or it can be irregular. In most cases, it will be regular. So that's how we identify from atrial fibrillation, where it is always and it's grossly irregular. So the most important identifying factor here is P wave is abnormal. Why? Because you can see P wave is multiple here. So you can see here, there are 3 P waves for each QRS, which we need only 1 P wave for each QRS in the normal case. So we have 3 to 1, 3 to 1, 3 to 1. Yes? So P wave is abnormal. So when we see the rhythm, okay, it can be regular or irregular as being said. So the red, if you see the red here, the atrial rate is very what? High. Can you see? Because it's faster. This is like it's faster. So let's say if we calculate the ventricular rate, we have 6-second strip here. Let's say 6 seconds. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We don't count this one, is out because this 6 seconds. Can you see this? From here to here is 3 seconds, from here to here is 3 seconds, 6 seconds per total. So 8, what do I do? Multiply by 10, which will be 80. So we have 80. But if we see the P wave here, the P wave, can you see from here to here is maybe like 5 millimeters. So 1500 divided by 5 will be like 300. Yes, which is the atrial rate is faster. So that is one abnormality here. P wave is abnormal, it's not present. So this is called as sawtooth appearance, or it's a flattering P wave. So this is called sawtooth appearance or picket fence appearance. So PRI is another abnormality because the P wave is not really normal. So you have more than one P wave, so you can't measure PR interval. So that is another abnormality added here. Then QRS should be okay. So we have multiple factors that are involved here. So with that, this is what we call the atrial flutter. Then when we go to atrial fibrillation, okay, in atrial fibrillation, it's grossly irregular. Can you see here? It's irregular. So if we do the 6-second method, so we have the 6 seconds from here to here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. So the ventricular rate is around 130. 13 multiplied by 10, 130. So the rate is increasing. It's uncontrolled above 100. But the atrial rate, we don't have any atrial rate because there is fibrillation. Because no P wave, can you see? No P waves. So we can't calculate atrial rate. So we have these two abnormalities. We have atrial rate, abnormality. We have P wave is absent. And PRI is what? Absent because we don't have any P wave, we can't calculate the PR interval. So this is what we call atrial fibrillation. So these two are important to note here. So these are the really what we need for atrial rhythm. We have the PAC, the premature atrial contraction, atrial flutter, and atrial fibrillation. And sometimes WAP, and there is also what's called MAT, wandering atrial pacemaker. Okay. Now the next one will be junctional rhythms. Before that, any questions? And maybe let's take some break.
I have a question. Does the
Yes.
atrial flutter usually have a regular rhythm?
Yeah, in most cases it will be regular, but you can have also irregular
Okay.
rhythms. Okay. How many minutes break? Emily, how many minutes? Okay. Maybe let's take 10 minutes.
Yeah, normally I'll give them 10 minutes break every 1 hour. So we pass more than that. So you want to give them 15? 15? Did you hear me?
Yes, Emily.
All
So
right.
let's take 15 minutes.
I'm driving home now. I've been
Yeah,
sitting
okay.
in the office. I was born. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you are in the car? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm in the car. That's why I couldn't.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be home in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Now this is interesting. I like the way you are explaining. It's very, very good.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Okay. See you then in
Uh-huh.
15 minutes. Okay. Okay, the next rhythm that we have to discuss will be about junctional rhythm. So we discussed sinus rhythm, atrial rhythm, then junctional rhythm. I think before junctional rhythm, let's let's uh, let's do on the okay. I think a bit local. I mean, okay. I think okay. Let's continue on the junctional rhythm. Uh, so junctional arrhythmias, that is caused usually here at the junction, which is by the AV node. So in the normal case, an impulse is passing from the SA node to the AV node. So as you know, it's passing from the SA node to the AV node. But in junctional rhythms, what's happening is that because the SA node is usually not functioning or not working, so an impulse will pass in a retrograde way, or from AV node to SA node instead of SA node to AV node, it will be retrograde. So that is called a retrograde impulse. So retrograde impulse, that means because it is passing from the AV node to the SA node, from the AV node to the SA node. So in the normal case, when the impulse is passing from SA node to AV node, so you will have a normal P wave. That means where the P wave is upright. But when it is retrograde, when it is back from here to the SA node, it will be an inverted P wave. Inverted P wave. So the P wave is inverted. So inverted P wave is the characteristic of a junctional arrhythmia. So we can have an inverted P wave we can have it in three ways. It can be, the P wave can be inverted. One, before QRS. Before what? Before QRS. Or it can be inverted during QRS. Or it can be inverted after QRS. So you can have an inverted P wave before, during, or after QRS. So So these are some features of the junctional rhythm. So usually, as you know, we analyze usually the lead 2. So that's where we analyze. So here, what do you see here? P wave is inverted before Q1 raise. Can you see? So it is inverted before Q1 raise. So electrical impulse from AV junction depolarizes atria first and then depolarizes ventricles. So P wave will be in front of the QRS. It's in front, but it's inverted. So retrograde conduction produces negative P wave. So as we said, it is called a retrograde impulse. That means the AV node is going backwards to the SA node instead of the SA node sending impulse towards the AV node is going backwards. So that's why it is called as retrograde impulse. And in retrograde impulse, you will have a negative P wave. But in the normal case, you will have a positive P wave. So that is how when we see this feature. So here, P wave is inverted where? After QRS, can you see? So in this case, you can see at the front of QRS, you don't have any P wave, it's just a line because it is inverted here. So because electrical impulses from AV junction depolarize ventricles first and then depolarizes atria. So this is after QRS. So when it is during QRS, that means the P wave is hiding behind the QRS. So you will not see any P wave. Can you see this one is flat? Even after QRS, there is no inversion. Yes, so it is hiding behind QRS. So you can't see it actually. You can't see it, just like the relaxation of the atria. So you can't see the P wave. So P wave is during, it's inverted during QRS. So it's hiding behind QRS. So we have these three characteristics of these P waves. P wave inverted before QRS, inverted after QRS, inverted during QRS. Okay, then as we see this one, then just like you know how we discussed the atrial and sinus rhythms, we have different kinds of junctional rhythms. The one of them, the first one is PJC. So this junctional rhythm is present in all kinds of rhythm abnormalities. Like in atrial rhythm, we have PAC, premature atrial contraction. In ventricular rhythm, we'll have PVC, which is premature ventricular contraction. The same in case of junctional rhythm, also we have premature junctional contraction. So here, the same like PAC, for example, you know, there is an ectopic beat coming from the atria, yes, and then it will act as a pacemaker, so creates that. So the same here, so we can see here, for example, normal beat is coming, normal beat is coming, normal beat is coming, but now here it is PJC. What makes it PJC? Because P wave is inverted. Because why not is PAC? Because P wave is what? Inverted. Here, normal rhythm is coming, then inverted. So these are the PJCs here. So if you see now the analysis, so the rhythm is regular. Basically, the underlying rhythm is regular, but because there are like interfering PJCs in between, then you can see it's becoming so irregular. So the underlying, so when you interpret it, you have to say the underlying rhythm is regular, but there is irregularity because of the PJC. So the rate of the underlying rhythm, you can calculate it. That means if we consider it regular, then you take like, so do not take this one, just you take like this part and you calculate the heart rate, 1500 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, 23 and 26. So 1500 divided by 26. So it should be like normal. And P wave is abnormal, yes, because it's inverted here. It's inverted where? Before, during, or after? So it's inverted here before QRS. So PR interval is a little bit, in this case, is shorter. So QRS is in a normal case. So this is like what? This is PJC. So in general, so this is also a junctional rhythm. So basically the source of junctional rhythm, because junctional means the AV node is affected. That is where it originates. Because as you know, AV node is found where? At the junction of the atria and the ventricles. So originate rhythm. So you can see rhythm is regular. Red 40 to 60. Because if you calculate, if it is regular, 1500, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 25, and another 5, hopefully like 30. So the rate is around 50, around 50. So P wave is inverted. So you can see it's coming here. Because can you see here? No P wave before QRS. Can you see? No P wave. How do you identify from SCT depression of the myocardial ischemia? Because there is no P wave here before QRS. So it like lips and it's inverted where? Behind QRS. It's inverted behind QRS. So, okay, it can occur at any time, but at this point, it's occurring behind QRS. So this makes it a junctional rhythm. Then we have some different kinds of junctional rhythm. We have accelerated junctional rhythm and we have junctional tachycardia. So how do we identify that? When we say accelerated, the rate will be normal. So the term acceleration means it's normal. But otherwise, in most other junctional rhythms, you can have the heart rate to be slower, 40 to 60. So look how the progress in the just the junctional rhythm, which is 40 to 60, in accelerated from the 40 to 60, a little bit accelerated, 60 to 100. And then when it's tachycardia, it will be above 100. Okay, so that's how you identify. That means you check the P wave. If the P wave is inverted, either before, during, or after QRS, then you check what is the rate. If the rate is between 40 to 60, that is what we call the escape beat or the junctional rhythm. If it is between 60 to 100, that is accelerated. Okay. If it is above 100, that is tachycardia. So this one, what makes it junctional? You can see here, okay, here, no P wave, can you see? So here also no P wave. So most likely it is hiding behind QRS. Yeah, so what is the rate? 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 20, like 21. So the rate is between 60 to 100. So if the rate is 60 to 100, then that will be accelerated junctional rhythm. So what makes this one junctional? Because P wave is inverted, can you see? P wave is inverted all over, can you see? So in this case, it's all over. So that will be junctional, because it's inverted. Then when you see the red, because the rhythm is what? Regular, yes? So get the red How many boxes do we have? Like 13 boxes. 1500 divided by 13, it should be more than 100. So this will be junctional tachycardia. So that is how we identify. So the most important characteristic is the P wave inversion. P wave inverted, that's junctional. Then we have the escape bit, which is 40 to 60. Then we have the accelerated junctional, which is 60 to 100. And then more than 100, junctional tachycardia. Okay, is
Question.
that okay? We are passing to the next other rhythm issue, which is a different issue. Any problem, any question up to now? We should have
Yes,
also the
please.
ventricular rhythm, but I'm not sure where it is. I think maybe it's down there. Okay, any
I have a
question?
question. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay. So this is just a technical thing. So in the junctional accelerated, right? The rate is 60 to 100, which is normally normal, right? So
normal,
is the
yes,
reason why it's accelerated here is just because you're
yes,
comparing this one to the
yes,
former one and
yes,
then the junctional one?
yes. It's just accelerated from this one.
Okay, but not in terms of the rate, right? Like the
Yeah, no,
okay.
no, not in terms
Okay.
of, it's just, you know, usually junctional rhythms are slower, but it's
Hmm.
accelerated from that one. And it tries to keep the heart rate to normal. So it's good for the
Correct.
heart rate, the
Hmm.
heart, because it has a normal beat
Normal
rate.
heart rate, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And then when it's tachycardia, it will be
It's over the
less than,
100. Hmm.
yes, more than 100. Yeah. Okay. Now AV block, a bit different from this. So first, what is the electrophysiology of this AV block? You know, so we have the SA node here, we have the AV node here. Yes, impulse is passing from the SA node. So AV node has one important physiological function. What is that? That is called, it is what? It is what we call AV delay. It means it delays the electrical impulse here. So the impulse that is being produced in the SA node will go to the AV node. AV node will hold the impulse for a while. So it creates an impulse. So that is to keep the atria contract before the ventricles contract. So there will be a synchronous contraction or movement of the ventricles to the atria. So because once it's being held here, the blood from the atria, it will have the time to pass to the ventricle. Then once the impulse passing from the AV node goes to the right and left vertebrae, then Purkinje, then the ventricles can contract. So that's how first the atria contracts, then ventricles. So lap, tap. Yes, lap, tap. So that means the contraction will be synchronous. So they don't contract like both of them at the same time. So that is not by this AV delay. So that is the one of the most important physiological function of the AV node. So now always that delay, you know, so we have usually we see it because of PR interval. So PR interval, our PR interval is 0.12 to 0.20 second. So that shows that, so PR interval includes what? Atrial contraction and the time it's taking from the impulse to pass from the SA node to the AV node. So that's what it's showing us because PR interval. So in normal cases, that's 0.12 to 0.20. It shows there is a delay. That line is what? The delay. But when that delay becomes prolonged, longer than normal, then that is what we call a block. That's what we call it, a block. So according to this, we have three kinds of heart block. We have the first degree heart block, second degree heart block, and third degree heart block. And the second degree heart block, we have two kinds. We have type 1 and type 2. The type 1 is called Mobitz 1 or Wenckebach, and the type 2 is Mobitz 2. Okay, then, so the first degree block, you know, the origin is where always in the SA node, as we've said, it will be delayed. It will be delayed in the AV node before it's going further. Now, if we see here, what's going to happen? The rhythm is, look, it's regular. Yes. Then the rate, so calculate with 1500. P wave is upright. Okay, upright, round, 1 P wave for each QRS, so it's okay. But what happened here is that what? PR interval is long. That means if you calculate the time from beginning of P to beginning of Q is more than 5 boxes, which is more than 0.20 second. But in degree 1, it remains constant. If it is 0.20 here, 0.20, 0.20, 0.20, always constant. So this kind is called first degree block. So first degree block is not considered to be treated because first degree block is just like a delay. It's considered like a delay. So it doesn't have any problem. I mean, any of us, if we do our EKG, maybe we can have the degree block, but it doesn't really cause a problem. So the next issues will be with second degree and a third degree block. So second degree block, we have two kinds, type 1, Mobitz, which is called Mobitz 1, or it's called Wenckebach. Mobitz 1 is type 1, second degree. Mobitz 2 will be type 2, second degree. Okay, the other name for type 1, which is Mobitz 1, is Wenckebach, but this type 2, it doesn't have Wenckebach. So, what is the characteristic of this type 1 Wenckebach or Mobitz? Is, you know, in this case, in first degree, we said it is constant, yes? Even if it is prolonged, it's constant all the way. But in type 2, in degree 2, type 1, it's not constant. It is progressively increasing. Can you see? Now, if you see the PR interval from here to here, then from here to here, it's increasing. Can you see? From here to here, it's increasing more. Then when it is increasing more here, what's happening is that it is missing, its QRS. Can you see? No QRS, it means, you know, it's increasing, 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 then the QRS is called QRS drop. It's called, so that's one characteristic of the second degree block. There is QRS drop, the QRS drop. So in type 1, the PR interval is progressively increasing. That is what it identifies it from degree block 1 and the type 2. In degree 1 heavy block, it is always constant. Okay, but in type 1, it is progressively increasing. The PR interval is, so you can see it here. Here, it is close to 4 boxes. Here, now it's like 6 boxes. Here, like 8 boxes. Now, this one, when it's trying to increase, now it couldn't keep it. So the QRS drops. So that will be the type 1 or Wenckebach. So the characteristic here is 1, there is a progressively increasing PR interval and QRS drops. That is type 2, type 1 of degree 2. So the rhythm will be irregular Why? Because of this, you can see there is irregularity. So here, can you see there is a drop here? You know, there is a drop here, so it continues to drop.
I have
Okay.
a question.
Yes.
The first degree heart block, why does it appear that the QRS is inverted, or am I just seeing that wrong?
Yeah. In some leads, you can have an inverted QRS in some of the leads. It can be normal in some leads. So the most important that we need to see will be, for example, in AVR, you know, all the leads are inverted, yes? In AVR.
Yes.
So you can have an inverted leads also on the others also. So what we see as an abnormality is usually wide QRS. If that is what we need to check for ventricular rhythms. Okay. Here it shows an upright, for example. Okay.
Sorry, does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. I just didn't expect to see that. I've never seen the inverted QRS, so I wasn't sure if I was reading it correctly or.
Mm.
Okay.
Let me find for you. If you see even all your leads, maybe you can see some inverted QRS. Let me say 12. Let's say here, for example, can you see here?
Yeah, the fifth line, they're inverted. I see that.
Yeah, this V1. Yeah, it can be. This one is half inverted, half up. Can you see they are equal? So half. This one is like this. So you can have in some leads, you can have inverted, but what we always see as inverted as is the AVR, which is called the neglected lead. Otherwise, you can have, for example, V1 is inverted. Here, V5 is positive. Here, usually because we are interpreting lead 2 and it's always positive, that's why we don't see them. Usually we don't like notice them. Otherwise, you can have an inverted QRS.
So we see an inverted QRS. It's not
Yeah,
necessarily
it's
anything
not,
bad.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can have like this one, for example, you can have that one.
So a follow-up question from what Ms. Sherry was saying. So should our question then be trying to figure out what lead we're reading from to determine if it's just like normal or if it's in a place that is problematic?
Yeah, usually the commonest list that we read will be lead 2, yes? That's our international lead
Yes.
because lead 2 can see, if you see the Einthoven triangle, lead 2 can see the major part of the heart because lead 2 is like this, yes?
Mm-hmm.
When in Einthoven's triangle, so it can see the most views of the heart. And so most interpreters and most cardiologists will agree on that lead. But if, let's say, the provider of the cardiologist, he wants to or she wants to like compare other leads, also they see the other leads. But that is usually the commonest lead where you can see.
So we as EKG technicians, when we do the EKG, do we just quickly look at the lead 2 just to make sure there's no emergency?
Yeah,
And then
yes, yeah.
that's the scope
Because
for us.
yeah, basically interpretation is not your uh job but just to see if there is any major like abnormality, if there is major rhythm issues, and how does the heart looks like. Just you see that the second lead. Okay. So the type 2. So we said type 1 is what? Progressively increasing. Type 1. So if you see here, type 1, increasing, increasing. Here now more increasing. So QRS cannot stand. So QRS drops. So here, QRS drops. So now type 2. So if you see here, you can see it's dropped, it's dropped, it's dropped, it's dropped. But the difference is that in type 2, it is constant. The PR interval is constant. Can you see? Constant, but there is a drop. Constant, but there is a drop. That is the difference. That's what we need to see here. So you can see P wave, 2 or 3 P waves before each QRS, because here there is QRS, you can see more than one P wave. This shows that the QRS for this one is dropped. The QRS for this P wave is dropped, so it's by itself. So you'll have 2 P waves before one QRS, 2 P waves before one QRS. So this kind is type 2. Or that's Mobitz 2. So here, can you see multiple P waves here? P wave, P wave, P wave, P wave, dropped, P wave, dropped. But the PR interval is relatively constant. It's keeping constant. From here, can you see? P wave, relatively constant. It's not progressively increasing. So that is how we identify second degree, type 2. Then third degree, an important feature of this is what we call AV dissociation. The atria and the ventricles are totally dissociated, so that atria contracts by itself, ventricles from the Purkinje fibers, they produce their own impulse, so that the ventricles contract by themselves because of Purkinje. Atria contract because of SNO. So both of them, they delineate or they dissociate totally. So atria contracts by itself, ventricle contracts by itself. So that gives third degree block, which is the most dangerous one. So impulse originates, atria activated by SA node, ventricles activated by spacemakers in the ventricles are which ones? The Purkinje. So atria and ventricle, they beat independently of each other, no relationship between atria and ventricular activity. This is called atria AV dissociation. This is called AV dissociation. When the atria and ventricle, they are dissociated totally. AV dissociation. Okay, so there is a complete absence of, it's a complete absence. No more impulse is coming from the SN to the ventricles. So there is a complete absence of conduction between the atria and ventricles. So rhythm, atrial and ventricular rhythms are regular. So the rate, atrial rate is of underlying rhythm, P waves appear at 1 rate, and ventricular QRS appears slow. Why ventricular appears at slow rate? Because Purkinje is the one that supplies. So the rate of Purkinje is how much? 20 to 40. Yes. You know, SA node is what? 60 to 100, AB node is 40 to 60. Then Purkinje are 20 to 40. So that means ventricular rate is always what? Slower. So that is, so you can see here, for example, you can see PR interval, you can see it longer. Can you see? Very long. Look here, very long, long. Here, okay, long. But there is dissociation. That means atria beats by itself, ventricle beats by itself. Ventricles, they don't get the impulse from the SA node, they get from the Purkinje. Purkinje, SA node, Purkinje. So that is how it appears on here. And this is called third degree, which is the most dangerous one because of this. The cardiac output will be low because ventricles do not beat well. So because of this low cardiac output, patient can have dizziness, fainting, loss of consciousness. So this is like the algorithm, how will be the for those. So the next will be pacemakers. So I think we saw it also before. Here, pacemakers. So we have three kinds of pacemakers. We have atrial, ventricular, and atrioventricular. That means here is the battery. So if the leads they are put in the ventricle, that is ventricular pacemaker. In the atria, atrial pacemaker. Both atrioventricular pacemaker. So usually in atrial pacemaker, so we will get you can see the spikes. These are, for example, the spikes. The spikes will be before P wave. If the spikes are before QRS, that will be ventricular pacemaker. If you have two spikes before P wave and QRS, that will be atrioventricular. For example, this is ventricular. You can see here the spike before QRS. And this one is both. You can see. So that's what we need to know. So this is a ventricular rhythm. Why? Because you can see the QRS is what? The QRS is wide. Can you see? It's wider. It's wider. So the issue should be a ventricular issue in this patient. Look, here is, okay? So these are the three what we call pacing that we see. We have atrial pacemakers, we have ventricular pacemakers, we have atrioventricular pacemakers. So in atrial pacemakers, we have that one before P wave, before QRS, and then before here P and QRS. Okay. Yeah, this is the next data we need. Ventricular arrhythmias. Give me 1 minute.
So you guys, all this, we were supposed to do chapter 9 and 10, but all this, if you look at it, most of what he's teaching is the interpretation, and it's there already. It's all about interpretation of the rhythm.
Okay. Then ventricular arrhythmias, which is a very important part of this. So, what's happening in ventricular arrhythmias is the QRS will be wide. That's how we identify in ventricular rhythms. As compared to atrial rhythms, what do we see a problem? The atria will have a problem, yes? So the atria is depicted by what? P wave. So P wave abnormality shows atrial rhythms. And in ventricular rhythms, QRS will be abnormal. So as we've said, premature is always there because we have premature atrial contraction, PAC, premature junction contraction, PJC, premature ventricular contraction, PVC. So the same like all those, like an ectopic beat is coming from one side of the ventricle and it's giving, here is the PVC. You can see PVC, can you see? Here is the PVC. So it had a normal beat, okay? P wave is normal, QRS is normal, peak normal, QRS is normal, but suddenly a PVC is coming in between of two normal sinus beats. Can you see? These are sinus beats. This is sinus. This is sinus. Because P wave is normal, QR is normal. P wave is normal, QR is not. So these are sinus. It's between of the sinus, you will have, I call them, like for me to remember, I call them giant waves. Like a big giant waves, they come in between of this. Look, this one here, this one. So that is called PVC. So according to that, PVC can be classified as, it has different names. I'm not sure how many names are here, but I think I can see. So depending on how frequent is coming, for example, one PVC may come after each beat, another may come after 2 beats, another may come after 3 beats. Okay, so that is one characteristic, and another thing. When does the PVC comes? For example, it can be overlapping with T wave. When T wave comes, it can overlap on top of that. So with this, there are different kinds of PVCs. So what do you see here in the PVC here? It's like a large and wide and bizarre. QR. Can you see this bizarre? It's bizarre, it's wide, and it's like a larger. Look, it's larger, bizarre, wide QRS. This is called PVC. So when we come to the other classifications, we have idioventricular rhythm, idioventricular rhythm. Okay. Then we have accelerated, just like the junctional. Remember, we said we have the escape rhythm, which is a junctional rhythm, then accelerated junctional rhythm, then junctional tachycardia. It's just like that, accelerated. Then, okay, you will have also the ventricular tachycardia. Which ventricular tachycardia? So we discussed them. We have 12 kinds of them, monomorphic and polymorphic. This torsade is one of them. So idioventricular is characterized by a slow heart rate. How do I remember idio, like, okay, like slow, idio, yeah, so slow, idioventricular rhythm, always slow. So how do I know that this is, first, I know that this is what? It's not atrial rhythm, it's not a sinus rhythm, it is what? Ventricular. Why? How do I know that? Because QRS is what? Wide. If QRS is wide, it's always ventricular. It cannot be any other rhythm. Okay? That's my first thing. I know that is what? Ventricular. So what kind of ventricular? The ventricular tachycardia? No, because it's not fast. Yes? So this is idioventricular. Why? Because it's low heart rate. With 6-second calculation, how many QRS do you have? 1, 2, 3, like 4. This one is cut here. It's not complete. So I may not count that one. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, like 40 heartbeat. So from our analysis, P wave, no P wave. Can you see? It's blanket, no P wave. PR interval, there is no. QRS is wide. How many wide? Look, you have 5, around 8 to 9 boxes, which is really so wide. So that is idioventricular. Then the idioventricular will be what? Accelerated. Slow, but the heart tries to compensate that, and you will have like a normal heart rate. So now, if I see this one, what is that? Because there is what? Wide QRS, wide QRS, wide QRS. So I know that is ventricular. Then, if it is slow, I know that is idio. If it is faster, it's tachycardic. Okay? So, if it is in between like the normal heart rate, then that will be accelerated. So if I do the maths with 1500, I can do that, but just to, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8. 8 times 10 will be 80. So that's a normal heart rate. So wide QRS, normal heart rate. So no P wave here, no PR interval. So that is accelerated idioventricular. Then the other kinds are bundle branch blocks. So you know on the electrical impulse, SA node, AV node, then we have bundle branch, bundle office, then bundle branch. Then we have right and left bundle branch. Right and left, they have anterior and posterior branch where they supply the front and the back of the heart. So what's happening is that there is an impulse, what? Obstructing through the right or left bundle branch, so it doesn't go or it doesn't pass. So there is a delay in ventricular depolarization of underlying rhythm, resulting in wider QRS. So the important life-threatening ones are ventricular tachycardia, and ventricular fibrillation. These are really life-threatening. That's how we need to know them. Ventricular tachycardia, we have two kinds. One is monomorphic. Okay, it's called as VTAC. VTAC. We can have monomorphic and we are polymorphic. So why we call it monomorphic? For example, this one, if you see this one, this is monomorphic. Why? Because the shape is always like the same. Can you see? So there is wide QRS, is faster, but the shape is always what? The same. The shape is the same. So this is for monomorphic. Then when we take the other one, which is called torsalis dipointus, this one is irregular. Can you see? It's like increasing, decreasing, increasing, decreasing. Can you see? It's changing, changing, changing. This is called the polymorphic kind, and special kind, which is called torsalis dipointus. So torsalis dipointus especially is important. So you can see QRS changes from negative to positive polarity. And okay, it's called torsalis. It's very important, especially with what we call a congenital, I think last time Sherry also taught, okay, we discussed congenital prolonged QT syndrome, because this is for kids. When they are born, they have a long prolonged QT. Okay.
Is that the one that can cause sudden death?
Yeah, it can also call, yeah. For example, in normal case, we might have QT like this, but when it is prolonged, then it will be like prolonged, very long. Sorry, my picture. So it's prolonged from Q to T. I mean, from Q. It should be actually this one. Let me wait. So if it is a normal one, then prolonged. The QT is prolonged. From here to here is prolonged. As while this one is normal. Yes. So this is called prolonged QT syndrome. So in this case, usually this can be accompanied by torsalis depointus, which is really very serious kind of heart condition. So that's called torsalis depointus. So the next is highly life-threatening is ventricular fibrillation. It's characterized by a wide, chaotic, disorganized, can you see? Like rhythms. So if this one is ventricular, that means everything is just rhythm. It's chaotic. There is no, you can't say there is a regular rhythm here. The rate, there is no rate to calculate, or P wave, there is absent. PR interval, you can't calculate it. QRS is really wide here, it's chaotic, it's not, doesn't have any shape. So this kind is ventricular fibrillation. Then the other one is ventricular standstill, or where the heart is trying to stop. Sometimes it's also called as agonal rhythm. Agonal rhythm is a rhythm just before asystole, before the heart stops. It is agonal rhythm. So usually the rate of the heart, the rate is usually between 20 to 40, 20 to 40. Then when it is less than 20 and it's becoming close to zero, that is called an asystole. Asystole. So in general, that is how we study really. I think within a few hours, I think we summarized all of them. So the most important thing here is really you can like let me take you to so that we can practice them. I think there are some books really for practice. I think the one that Kiara had is also good. I think I had also a book that says to like EKG in 10 days. It has lots of like strips so that just you write over there and you practice it. So that is another thing. But let me take you to some of really the common rhythm that we need to know. Okay. Let's try this ones. You want too much? So I think for me, if you know that just this one, I think for me that should go. So you can match them here. So you have the names here. So tell me one characteristic that you say that this is this. What is the reason? Okay. So let's say, so you can match anything that you want. You can.
Okay, I'm gonna match sinus tachycardia with the one right to the right of it because
This
the
one?
heart rate is, yeah, the heart rate is
Yes, it's
elevated, but
faster.
otherwise normal.
Correct. Correct. That's how we okay. Sinus, because P wave, QRS are normal. The rhythm is coming from the SA node. It's tachycardic because it's faster. And okay, good job. That's it. Next.
Okay, atrial flutter, and then the one above it a few spots because it
Atrial
has a
flutter.
salt.
Which
Yeah,
one?
it
This
has a
one,
salt.
this, or this one?
I can't see your, oh, that one, yeah, that one. Down,
One?
that one. Because it has a
This one?
sawtooth appearance. Yes.
Okay, this is atrial flutter. Correct.
I want
Why?
to say
Yeah.
the sinus brachycardia match with the one at the top right.
This one?
No, go yeah, that one with
Okay.
sinus bradycardia.
Yeah, correct. Yes. Okay.
Match asystole with the flat line.
Yes, assistor. This one? No heart rate. Okay. Yes, so see some characteristics. What do you see here? Okay, what do you see here? Okay. Here.
Is the one in the middle a trial
This
fibrillation?
one?
Yeah, is that it or no?
This one is which one?
Trial fibrillation.
Okay. No, no, it's not fibrillation. Fibrillation is this one here.
Oh, okay.
This one is what? PVC. Can you see here?
Yeah.
That's giant well, that's PVC.
Oh, okay.
Premature ventricular contraction. Here. So this one is ventricular fibrillation. In this one, you can see no P waves is irregular. Can you see?
Yeah.
Irregular. Oh no. Oh no. That's atrial fibrillation. Is this one. Ventricular should be this one here.
But would you say that they look similar or no?
Which one?
No, wait. No, they don't.
Yeah, this is atrial fibrillation because it's irregular
Mm-hmm.
and no P waves. Ventricular fibrillation, this chaotic, like deformed, not organized QRS. So what is this one
Sinus.
here? What do you see here special? Here,
Some kind of pause.
pause, yes, sinus arrest, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the one on the top left is that sinus bradycardia.
Yeah, this one we said that one. And what about this one here?
Doesn't have the inverted P before the
Yes,
QRS,
yes.
the,
So that is what?
the
P wave
junctional
inverted, or what's the other name? Junctional. Yes. Is that before, during, or after QRS?
before the QRS on that one.
Before QRS. So P wave negatively deflected. So really, these are the basic that really you need to know. Yes. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So let's take break and come back.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we doing the 15 minutes again, or what's the time?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys do
Huh?
15. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. 15 minutes.
Mhm.
Okay. 7:30. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So let's practice some rhythms and some questions. So let's say when you see this one, what comes to your mind? So what do you see here? First, what kind of rhythm is that? Is the sinus rhythm, atrial, ventricular? Yes, that's how we identify. Yes. So okay, ventricular rhythm can be out because QRS is normal. You can see ventricular fibrillation will be out. And the supraventricular tachycardia, no, because supraventricular tachycardia, one, it should be tachycardia, but in this case, it's not tachycardia. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
It's
And
12.
the other thing, in supraventricular, if you remember, we don't have P wave, but we have the T wave here. So it doesn't look. So we are left with atrial flutter and atrial fibrillation.
I'll go with atrial flutter.
Okay, here saying atrial flutter. In atrial flutter, you should have what? Okay, what is another reason that you say atrial flutter?
Sawtooth.
The rhythm. The rhythm.
Oh, okay.
The rhythm is regular. You know, it's confusing with what? With fibrillation. The only
Yes.
thing now I can identify is in flutter, you will have a regular rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And in fibrillation, in almost all fibrillation is irregular. But most of, maybe you can say 80% of the atrial flutter is regular rhythm. So
That
that's
is,
how,
yeah, that's the only thing I was looking at that I
yeah,
remember.
that's how we identify. So that is, okay. So you have this one here. What do you see on this EKG?
This one is
It's a little bit different.
Is it the ST segment is
Yes.
like negative?
ST is depressed. Yes. So I want
So then
also to,
it would be ischemia then.
it's going to be ischemia. Yes.
good job.
So we have those three things. We have what? Ischemia.
Injury and infarction.
Yes. Injury and infarction. Thus, we need to identify that. So ischemia, always there is what? ST depression. So that's why it's called NSTEMI, yes? Non-ST elevation myocardial. So that is ST depression. You have ST depression. And injury, the opposite, ST elevation. Yes, so that's what we call it as STEMI. STEMI. That's injury. I have to take it to injury. So that is what? STEMI. Okay. So in case of infarction, either of those may occur, like STEMI or NSTEMI, but together with that, we have what we call pathological Q wave. It means the Q wave is abnormally wide and bigger. Especially it shows on old infarction. Old infarction can be seen with this pathological Q wave. So these are the identifying markers. So basically here there is ST depression. So this is what? And STEMI. So that's the characteristic of ischemia. Okay. Okay. Why is not junctional rhythm? Because P wave is not inverted. P wave is normal
Upright.
before upright. Okay, when you see this, which characteristic can you see?
Spikes.
Spikes, yes? So that means there is
There's
a
a
pacing, yes? So which kind of pacemaker do you think? Is that atrial, ventricular, or atrioventricular? You say pacemaker, yes, but which kind? Atrioventricular. Why? Because you have two spikes, one before P wave, one before QRS. You see? One before P wave here, this is the P wave before that. One is the QRS before that. So we have two. So it's atrioventricular pacemaker. So which kind of arrhythmia do you think is this one?
This has no P.
Hmm?
This has no P wave.
No P wave, yes. That's one
It's
characteristic.
ventricular,
Ventricular. Why?
wide QRS.
Because QRS is wide. Okay? That's how you easily identify. Because QRS is wide. If QRS is wide, it's always ventricular. It's always ventricular. So we can't say any of this. It is ventricular.
Ventricular.
So the absence P wave is not because of junctional, but because of lots of problems with the ventricular, then you don't have P wave. Then what happened here?
It's a mess.
ST segment elevation.
Elevation.
Yes. The mess is here.
It's a mess. That's what I remember he said.
Yeah. Yeah, you remind it with some things. So here ST is what? Elevated. Can you see? It's going up. It's going up. It's going up. So that is, if there is ST elevation, so you have it here. Okay, prolonged PR, no, PR is normal. ST segment depression is not, it's elevated. Prolonged QRS complex, okay. Okay. Here, using 6-second method, determine the patient's heart rate. So you can see this is the 6-second. Can you see the small lines? From here to here will be 3 seconds. Another 3 seconds total. From here to here will be 6 seconds. So now when you calculate heart rate, what do?
You count the box.
Isn't it 1500 then divided by?
No, it's asking you 6
Oh,
seconds.
that's the
No,
6
for
second
the
method. Oh,
6-second method, you're gonna
Yeah.
count each
count
of the
this right.
QRS
1, 2, 3,
complexes
4, 5,
Yes.
6,
and
Count the
multiply by 10.
QRS,
10, 11, 12, 13.
multiply by. Shall I count this one?
No.
Let's start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Because this one
120.
is not in the, yes, it's not in, can you see? So you have to avoid that one. 120. Okay. I think this one looks to be like the one before.
Yeah.
So infarction.
Infarction.
Mhm.
Because ST change, always infarction. Or ischemia or injury. ST change. ST and T wave are the most important that shows on the myocardial involvement. Okay. To analyze first the rhythm. Is the rhythm regular? Yes,
Yes.
it looks
Yes,
regular,
it
yes?
is.
Yes, so rhythm regular, rate will be 1500 divided by like 20, which is 75, normal rate. Okay, then P wave.
Absent.
Absent. Yes. So if it is absent, we think it is what? It should be inverted, yes? So it can be inverted during or after QR. So it looks is inverted here. Yes, PR interval cannot determine because, okay. So that's how you approach. And so what will be your final?
Junctional.
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 What was the heart rate on this one? I didn't hear you. Kind of broke up a little bit.
Which one?
The
The
junctional
heart
one,
rate?
what was the heart? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we calculated 20 boxes, yes, till 20 little. So it should be 75.
Oh, so that would just be a normal junctional.
Yeah,
No, that would
okay.
be
So we have
that would be accelerated, right?
three kinds, yes. So it should be accelerated between 60
Yeah,
to
okay.
100. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now calculating the PR interval.
May have to enlarge that for us.
Yeah, I think. You need to count from here to here. Like 4 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4 multiplied by 0.04 will be 0.16.
I thought it looked more like 5 boxes, but it's very hard to see.
5. Okay, let's go with. Still, we need to go. Yes, we need to go to the closest. So that will be 2.20. Okay, good job. Okay. Which one of the following should an EKG technician evaluate first when determining EKG rhythm irregularity?
EP interval?
Okay. Yeah. Good job. Okay. Using the EKG tracing, determine the duration of the QT interval.
I can't count. It's moving too much.
Oh, okay. Like QT. You have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 10. Huh? So 0.4. So can you calculate the QTC?
Yeah, I need the heart rate first.
Yeah. So the heart rate will be?
I don't know. You're moving it too much. I can't count.
Okay. So let's say you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, 20, close to 23 and a half, plus 2, 25 and a half, which is 26.
So the heart rate is 60. So you would just do the QT plus 1.75.
Yes, QT is 400 millisecond. When you change to millisecond, 400 plus 1.75 times the heart rate is 60
Yeah.
times. So it will be 60 minus 60, will be 0. So that means the QT is the same as QTC. Okay. Okay. An EKG technician is to apply an automated external defibrillator to a patient who experiences ventricular fibrillation and is unresponsive. The patient does not have any implanted devices in place. In which of the following locations should the technician apply the defibrillator pads?
Think about CPR.
Is it B?
To the right of the mid-axillary line. On the right side, you need to put where? Upper external. On
No,
the
yeah,
left,
B, I said.
yeah, D, yeah. Okay.
A.
Yes. Okay. All of us, let's attempt. So here it's saying what? Wide QRS. If it is wide QRS, that's what the ventricular issue. Yes. And source vertical spikes before QRS.
A.
Yes. So if there are always spikes, it is what? A pacemaker.
A.
Okay. Yes. Kiara, can you try this one?
Yeah.
What do you do? It's asking for what? For QRS duration. That means from here to here, yes? You count the little boxes between Q and S and then multiply by 0.04, yes? I think. Okay.
Oh, I only saw one box. I counted only one.
Me
Maybe
Yeah,
too.
they're counting.
So I thought it was 0.0. What I thought was what you thought. Well, so we were wrong, right? Is that what it was saying?
yeah.
I think
Yeah,
the
this one
paper
is
is
one
wrong.
box. Even I didn't notice
Yeah,
it even.
Because that's what I
they're
put
counting it
also,
as like 3 boxes or something.
which
Yeah.
I did not see in between.
So from here to here. So when it is this one, it should be only one box.
Right.
So
So the 0.04 was correct.
Yeah,
no,
NHA is wrong.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I didn't see 3. So I
no.
just wanted to.
From here, count from here to here. It looks to be more than one. From the beginning of Q to the end of S. So
Okay.
one box here, another box
Can you
here,
enlarge it?
and another. At least I
Okay,
can
so
see two and a
I
half
guess I
boxes,
was
I
just
think.
looking at the QRS complex and I looked at that as 1.
I can see 2.5 boxes. So 2.5 will be 0.1. So which is closer to that is 0.12.
Okay. And that one was my mistake then.
Okay. Now here, calculate the heart rate.
Could you please tell us how many boxes are between?
Heart rates.
Is it like 14?
Should be almost here. You have 10, you have 13 and a half, and like 1, like 14, yeah?
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Okay, then what do we do? Divide
1500 minus the
1500.
14. Yeah.
Okay, it will be, then we'll go to the closest at least if there is, how much is that?
107 at least from the calculation I did.
107.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be 105, the closest.
Mm-hmm.
It's 115. Okay, okay, that we need to go up. Okay. So what do you think will be this one? Rhythm. Either sinus, atrial, ventricular, or junctional. Okay. So it should be sinus tachycardia, yes? Okay. What is the rhythm here?
Tachycardia for sure.
Yeah. It's not junctional because there is P wave
And it's not inverted, right?
Inverted, okay, yeah. Okay. Here, what is inverted here?
T wave.
Yeah. Which of the following life-threatening arrhythmias can include a symptom of seizure activity?
Ventricular fibrillation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You 6-second meter, calculate.
We can't see the whole strip.
Count this one, say 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 multiplied by
10, right? So 190.
10 will be okay. Okay. Okay, let's say you are sitting on the exam. You have these questions.
C 10 to 12.
10 to 12.
Would it be 2?
Mhm.
A.
Yes.
Good job, Kiara. You all did well too.
So see the question, it says, why didn't
Would it be
QRS?
D, the
Yes.
premature ventricular?
Yes. Always QRS, find ventricle.
Tachycardia.
Yeah.
Can you wear it in the shower? I don't know. I know you can't
I
bathe or
don't think
swim,
so.
but
No, after monitor, you can't. You
no
can't use it.
shower?
So is it C?
I think it's A.
Yeah, it should be. Refrain from doing the usual activity. No, you can't do Usual
I was
activity.
thinking usual activities like you can't shower. You understand?
Oh, okay. Usual activities are like your daily activities.
Okay.
It's D.
Huh?
D, like David.
Yeah, the left leg lead wire. No, it should be the right leg, yes?
Oh, I don't know. I thought the left leg was the ground.
The right leg should be grounding. So limb leads are placed on the fleshy areas of the skin. Leads V1 through V6 are limb leads. Limb leads are unipolar. No, limb leads are what? Bipolar. That should recognize that. Okay. So which one do you want? Here. Yes.
B,
See?
B, like boy.
Okay, remove all clothing from the waist up. All right. When do you avoid food? When you do what? Stress testing.
Sinus bradycardia.
Okay. There are 5 because the heart rate is slow, yes?
D, like David.
Okay. Knee clavicular, that before. Cellular arrest, like the one we discussed the line. You remember the isoelectric line? What is the other name? Yes, polarization, yes.
So is that simply because it's not like a repolarization or depolarization going upwards or
Yeah,
downwards? It's just like
yes,
straight? Okay.
yes.
It's A.
Huh?
A.
Eh? Okay. All right. Next.
She was an adult. Semi-Fowlers.
Sharp spikes.
Would that be an electrical interference?
Yes. So for small sharp spikes.
So same as AC interference? Okay.
Yes.
You
All the,
And is
all
that
the
simply because of like a
66%.
pacemaker or something?
Like cell phone
Actually,
and
my
so on.
husband, yeah, my husband had a cell phone in his pocket, and I have a EKG to show you next class. It looks really crazy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
Mm.
I think you need to take your medication.
Okay. Take your medication.
Definitely.
Okay, correct. Yes, good job. Okay. Okay.
you guys, I feel like you are ready for your exams.
For EKG, yes, but not the other thing. You know what?
NaH, everything.
Huh?
The
At least you
phlebotomy?
can.
No,
I'm
no.
envisioning Miss Sherry going into EKG tech instead. I know before she wanted medical assistant, but today I think it's shifted.
I started to really like it. I don't know why. It's Mr. Tadassi's fault,
That's
Dr.
good.
Tadassi's fault.
Mhm. That's really good.
Yeah. Dr. Darcy comes to your level teaching the EKG. It's interesting. Even in nursing school, I didn't like it than now, honestly.
Yeah, and it seems like once you start to get it, you kind of get it. It just takes a few times. I still need a few more times, but like I can feel it. I'm understanding it deeper now. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
And then you guys need to look into it. Even today, a guy came there. I'm trying to convince him to do all the three. He says, "Oh no, I want only the EKG because there is a lot of work out there and they are paying good." I'm like, really? I convinced him. But
No,
he's
let
so
me talk to him. Let me talk to that man. I'll
okay.
sell it for you.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, he was supposed to come to class today to just see how we were doing the EKG, but unfortunately, yeah, because of the snow.
How long is this snow supposed to go on? Because I saw church was even canceled, or
No, the snow. I'm telling you, it stopped. The
Yeah,
thing,
the snow was really so short.
it was
So
short.
wow.
always you can't compare it with Northern Virginia Community College. You know, if they close, then that's when you need to close
Everything.
the school. Yeah.
It, it
All
might snow again on Sunday night.
Okay. So which part of the heart is affected by MI? So you can see it from where? From Einthoven's triangle. So lead one, because the arrow is this way, you can see, okay, you can see the lateral side of the heart. And lead two, the bottom side of that, because the arrow is going this way, that's the bottom of the inferior. So you can see here, inferior. So lead three, because it's also going down, the arrow, so you can see the inferior here. And then we have the augmented leads. This one is AVR. Yes, this is AVR. Then this one is AVL. and this one is AVF. So now let's see. Okay, so AVR is not a significant lead, so just we can leave it because it's called neglected lead. It's not used for interpretation. So AVL, which side do you want to see? Lateral, because the arrow is this direction, yes? This direction, so you can see the lateral side, AVL. Then AVF, because going down, that will be the bottom part of the heart, which is here, the inferior. Then we have the chest leads. We have V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. So you can see V1 is here. So V1 and V2, you can see the septum of the heart. The septum, which is because they are located here. So you can see the septum of the heart. Then V3, V4, as you go this way, so you will see the anterior of the heart. So we have V3 and V4 anterior of the heart. Then V5 and V6 will be on the side of the heart here. So V1, V2, septum of the heart, V3, V4, anterior part of the heart, then V5, V6, the side of the lateral side, the lateral part of the heart. So that's how the Einthoven triangle really helps us on how to identify which lead we use for our diagnosis. So progression of an acute myocardial infarction. An acute MI is a continuum that extends from the normal state to a full infarction. So we discussed this one. We have ischemia, injury, infarction. Ischemia, lack of oxygen to the cardiac tissue, represented by ST segment. Depression, which is we call it N-STEMI, T-wave inversion or BOS. Injury, an arterial occlusion with ischemia, represented by ST segment elevation. Infarction, days of the tissue, represented by pathological Q-wave. So here, this is how the progression can you see. We have a normal EKG is this one. Yes, but now it's progressing. Can you see? T wave is now started to invert here. Look, ischemia is coming. Inversion of T wave. Here inversion. Here ST started to elevate. Can you see? Injury is coming. ST started to elevate. Here maximum elevation going up. And here, look, Q wave. It's very big, prominent Q wave, which is called pathological Q wave. It is here, which shows like an old MI, especially that there is the scar formation on the heart muscles. So this is really on the myocardial infarction. Okay, so you can see here. So this one is a normal. How ST segment is, can you see? It's like everywhere. It's like normal. It's like a straight line. But here, ST segment is elevated. How do you call this point here? This is called J point. This one is a J point. So that shows you how is the change of the ST segment going. So this is ST elevation, and this one is depression. So you can see how it's depressed. It's going down. So there are some causes for this ST segment elevation and ST segment depression. So in a normal 12 lead EKG, that's how you can see lead 1 is all up, AVR is always down, V1 can be Negative, can you see? This is normal 12 VCG. So in normal case, B2 can be negative here. AVL can be, it has a bit positive, but it can be a lot, most part of it is negative. You can see B3, most part of it negative, a bit positive. So that is how the distribution in those cases. Okay. So we discussed the different kinds of infarctions. Okay, emergency medications. Here there are SE inhibitors, angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. This is an antihypertensive. Example of these are captopril, enalapril, lisinopril, ramipril. And why do you give SE inhibitors? For hypertension, MI, congestive heart failure, and heart failure without hypotension, a segment elevation, left ventricular dysfunction after MI. Another group of medication is adenosine, antiarrhythmic medication. Usually can give for SVT, which is supraventricular tachycardia, or for tachycardias. You can give them usually with an IV. It's an IV medication. Then amiodarone, also for tachycardia, it's an antiarrhythmic. Then for SVT, for pulseless ventricular tachycardia. Aspirin is usually anticoagulant, yes. So it's antiplatelet. Propranolol. So all of this can be given for angina. Okay. Calcium chloride, digoxin, okay, and diltiazem, which is this is a CCB, which is calcium channel block. Okay. Okay, I think it's better to finish.
Oh, Dr. Trasi, oh, if you give me
Yeah.
access, I can go through the last page.
Eh?
I say, if you give me access, if you make me the host,
Okay.
I can share and then go through the last. It's only 40 something pages
Yeah.
and it will be done.
For medications, I think okay. Let me make. Yeah, I think you can use it. You can be a host. Can you do that?
No, you have to make me a host.
Yeah, it's already multiple hosts.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
Huh?
interesting. So where should I go? Let me see. That's interesting. Where is it? So can you guys see?
Yeah, we can see.
Oh,
Okay, I think that's good. It's good to just use you.
so this was what I was talking about in the EKG for our topic for today. I'm not sure if you have your EKG syllabus, but that's what actually we are on week what? Week 7, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the week 7 is overview of rhythm interpretation, and now it's chapter 9. And if you look at chapter 9, I'm telling you, Dr. Tadasi has covered it. It's all about the UKG script and how to interpret it. So, and now our next week, what I'm doing right now is chapter 10 for the 8th week, okay, which is the emergency situation. So let's zoom through it and see what it tells us. All right. And Dr. Tadasi, you can jump in if you want to. Okay, please. Dr. Tadasi,
Yes, yeah,
I said you can don't hesitate to jump in if you need to
yeah,
elaborate.
okay,
Yeah, please. All
yeah,
right.
okay.
So one, recognize emergency situation during cardiac testing. Okay, so it is very important for us as MA, as we are going to be technicians soon. I can tell Sherry will pick up that job fast. So UKG technicians must be ready to respond if a patient develops cardiac or symptoms during a test. How many signs and symptoms of a possible cardiac emergency can you list? How many signs and symptoms of possible what cardiac emergency can you list? It's a lot. I was going through it. So we will come by it again. Remember, a physician or nurse should be notified immediately. A physician, sorry about that. A physician or nurse should be notified immediately if patient's signs and symptoms indicate a cardiac emergency may be developing. These EKG changes can also indicate a cardiac emergency and require the immediate attention of a doctor. And I believe Dr. Tadasi has gone over some of them. Okay, the ST segment depression, ST segment elevation, changes in heart rhythm, later dysrhythmias. Dr. Tadasi, what is the later dysrhythmias?
Is it like VTAC, like ventricular fibrillation and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, VTAC is a ventricular tachycardia. VTAC.
VTAC, okay.
And VFib is ventricular fibrillation.
Okay.
Are they both lethal?
The most dangerous one is what? Fibrillation.
VFib. Mhm.
Because it causes seizure and it's a life threatening. Usually, if there is VFib, then you need to be ready for CPR and for like emergency action.
Emergency.
Yeah.
Okay. So that tells you that that kind of EKG should be called to the doctor's attention. So these are some EKG strips that needs to be reported immediately. You guys can look at it.
Okay, well, what do you see here?
Elevated ST and depressed ST.
Yes. So this one is elevation, which is STEMI. This one is depression and STEMI, which is ischemia, and this one is the. And here you can see there is there is T-wave inversion. Can you see T-wave inverted here?
The second one, right?
Here the third one.
Mm.
There's a T-wave inversion here. If you
Oh,
see
yes,
here,
the T-wave inversion, yes.
T-wave. Yeah. So okay.
Any question? And then we have the ventricular tachycardia. That one we all can see how it's the rapid.
So what is this one here from the previous?
We don't have any P wave.
This one is monomorphic. It's VTAC monomorphic because this one has a special name. How do you call this? Second one.
Ventricular. That's the ventricular fibrillation.
That one torsades.
Oh, this is the
Torsades depointes.
Oh, okay.
This one is polymorphic because it's changing shape, changing, sometimes up, sometimes down. But this one, same shape, the same shape constant. So this one is monomorphic. This is polymorphic. An example of polymorphic is torsades depointes.
And then we have the third degree heart block. No relationship between P wave and the QRS complexes. So just go through the strips. Pulseless electrical activities. So this one has no pulse. And this is serious. No activity. Agnor rhythm.
Oh, yeah. This one is asystole. Asystole means
Asystole means you're dead. But can you explain the one with no pulse?
yeah, pulseless means the heart has the electrical activity, but that is not transmitted through the vessels, and you don't feel a pulse. If you want to check like a pulse, then you cannot feel the pulse. That means
so you don't see it on the strip, but you just know by checking the patient.
when you try to check the pulse of the patient, you can't see it, but you can't feel it. But you can't see the impulse on the EKG. On the EKG, you can see it, but you can't feel it.
Okay.
That's interesting. I'll be calling 911. All right. So there is a case study here. You guys can read it.
Read it like right now or on our own?
Oh, on your own.
Oh, okay.
I would say this is not an emergency. I think she has an elevated heart rate because she has anxiety, but her heart rate is still in the normal range. Is that right or no?
Yeah, she's just anxious. 71 is baseline heart rate is 71. So what we should just know the normal heart rate, right? So all of you, this is not. Is it emergency?
No, I think it's still normal. I think it's just elevated due to anxiety. And if she was acting normal, other than the 90 heart rate, I would say she would be fine.
Yeah.
If she complained, like if she said she had chest pain or something, that would be a different situation.
Of course. All right. Read this one too.
You have to stop the test immediately.
Yeah, this one will be an emergency. Definitely. Sinus arrest, like in between that, there's no beat, right? That's what Dr. Lassie was explaining to us.
So I probably stopped the test as well.
Yeah.
I would not stop the test because it's only an EKG. She's just sitting there, right? She's not doing anything. So I would complete the EKG and show the provider immediately.
The EKG,
We need Dr. Tadasi to be reading these with us.
Dr. Tarasi, maybe he took a little break. It's fine.
No, sorry, I'm talking. It was muted. Huh.
Okay.
She had a sinus arrest, yes?
Yes.
So that is a code blue. Code blue means cardiac emergency. You have to initiate the code blue.
Even in this case where it's brief,
Yeah.
like brief pauses of it, right?
You know, the brief call, usually code blue should be 6 seconds. If there is a 6 second stop, it's code blue. So brief is like when it has multiple times, 2 second, 2 second, 2 second,
Mhm.
then that can be a brief. So that when it is multiple times, it can be considered as emergency.
Okay, cool.
And then yeah.
That's an emergency as well. This
Yeah, we should let the doctor know, right?
this dummy.
Yeah, there's timing. All right. Hmm. Is this an emergency too? How was Dr. Tarasi describing the ventricular fibrillation?
Yeah, it's an emergency.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Define the following terms code. An emergency signal use. So now what I wanted to add to what we just did, from what Dr. Tarasi just explained to us and from our previous lessons, you see how it's kind of, it helps you understand a case study and to really, really interpret, right? Interpret it or analyze it, even though you are not a doctor, but at least you have an idea what the strips looks like, so it's very, very important for us to continue even after this class to be, because the more you do it, the more you become familiarized with, you begin to understand it more. So please, even after this, don't stop, please. Just once a while review it and it will help you until you get a job. Yeah, especially those who are going to be getting EKG job. Then we have code, an emergency signal used in the healthcare setting to alert staff to a needed response while preventing panic and stress among patients and visitors. Code blue usually means cardiac arrest. Please note that. So as you become MA, you are on the floor, you are in the emergency room, wherever, you should be able to know what code. Code team, group of healthcare workers designated to respond to emergency code in medical facility. Staying calm and behaving professionally is essential in any emergency situation. So it's very, very important. One has to seize the emergency. Somebody has to be kind of like calming. Other than that, when there's emergency, everybody's chaos. Nobody even remember who to go and call, who is everybody. So you have to be calm and just control the situation. You know, that's very, very important. Your supervisor directs you to call 911 for a patient who is experiencing a medical emergency. What information should you be ready to provide? So it's very, very important for as soon as you call 911, what are they going to ask you? Where is what? Where is where?
Your emergency.
Where's your emergency?
Where is your emergency? Very important. So please, it is very important to know your address, where you are, because that will help them to come to the right house. Of course, sometimes by the time you call, they even know where you are located, but they still ask all those questions and know the other information. They are going to ask you the person date of birth, the person is it a male or female, all this thing. Is the person on medication, especially if you know the person, they're going to ask you all this. So it's always good to know, especially your family members. You should know them. If it is your family members, or if it is somebody you don't know, please just give them the location and just describe if it is a female or male. That helps. It is important to stay on the line with EMS until the dispatcher ends the call. Very important. And sometimes they will direct you what to do as well. Imagine a realistic emergency situation. Make notes about your imagined situation. In pairs, take turns playing the role of dispatcher and EKG technician calling an emergency using the details of the situation you created. True or false? The first thing to do if a conscious patient is experiencing signs and symptoms of cardiac emergency is to find an AED.
I think true, so you can have it ready just in case.
No, the first thing to do.
Oh, no, you will call 911.
Very
so
good. Mhm. You see how they did the first. The AED is good, but the first thing, if something happens, if somebody is having a situation, please, that's the first thing you want to do. Define the following term: aspiration, inhaling, oral secretion in the lungs. Okay, so aspiration we all know. And then when caring for an adult patient, where is pulse usually checked during an emergency?
To avoid a patient for aspiration, which position do you need to put the patient?
on their side.
Yes,
Lateral.
usually on the lateral side.
Where do you usually check for pulse during an emergency? If you've done CPR, you know where it is.
Would it be the carotid artery?
Yes.
Good job. CPR is necessary in the following situation: patient's heart has stopped. Okay, definitely we have to do unless the person has a DNR. Okay, patient is in a ventricular what fibrillation. Dr. Tadas, is this one that you said the person has no pulse?
No, this one is ventricular fibrillation.
Oh, okay.
That one is pulseless.
Pulseless. Okay. So CPR, I'm still thinking about it when I saw the no pulse. I'm like, if I don't feel any pulse, I'm going to be doing CPR. But from what you are
Yeah,
saying,
so even if the heart didn't stop totally, but in ventricular fibrillation, then CPR should start.
wow. And then remember, if a patient's heart is not beating and CPR is not being performed, blood is not circulating. This means cells are not receiving oxygen. Brain death will occur in less than what? 10 minutes. So the reason why we do this chest compression is to help to what? Help the heart to start pumping blood, and by pumping the blood, it also carries what? The oxygen that should go into our brain at least. So the moments we are not pumping, then the person will just die. Okay, that's why even during the COVID time, we were not as CPR instructors. Dr. Tadasi can tell. Dr. Tadasi is also a CPR instructor. They told us not to care about the mass. We should, if there is anything that we should do, continue with what? Chest compression. Continue with compression. You don't stop until somebody takes over or until 911 what comes along. So Dr. Tadasi, anything to add to that?
Yeah. Yes, that's one of the difference even between BLS and CPR.
Right.
When you are like BLS, just you need to check for the pulse.
Right.
And but when you are just like doing like CPR, just you don't need to check for the pulse. And so the other thing is the breathing. So nowadays, even the American Heart Association, I think they left the breathing part so that you can go directly to the compression,
Yes.
and because that's the most important life-saving action, because the heart should pump blood. That's what is needed. So that
Yes.
we focus on the compression.
Yes. All right. And then true or false, AED can correct all dangerous dysrhythmia. Anytime you see all, that means what? The answer is what?
False.
Yes. Anytime AED can correct all. Even the all alone, even if you don't know the answer, know that the all alone, it's not what? It's not true. All right. Any question on that? And then, have you ever performed CPR or used an AED in an actual emergency situation? If you have had this experience and are willing to discuss, please share what your experience was like. In what way was it different from a similar or similar to CPR training? Yeah, of course, I have used it, but the person even didn't survive.
Yeah, once also long time, a patient he was passing on an operating table,
Oh wow!
and then the anesthesia part, I think they have to do AED and so on, but he came back to life.
Oh
But
wow!
at the end, the patient passed because of
Oh
his condition,
oh
because of his condition.
yeah,
He
and
came
and
back because the AED was done, and then he came back.
wow. Wow. And I
Mm.
have performed in real life, I've performed CPR probably 2 or 3 times. Yeah. But two of them end up coming back, but then they end up dying at the hospital. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I did even like I'm telling you, it's not easy when you are doing all the foaming coming from their mouths. Those days I had masks, but still it's a very terrible thing. Yeah. So we I think we touched base. I'm not sure, but transit ischemia attack,
Yeah,
a warning sign of a
yeah, yeah. TIA is different from stroke. Like if the patient has a stroke, but if the symptoms come back to normal within 24 hours, that's called TIA.
Oh, okay.
That means, but if the symptoms stabilize and continues, then that is a stroke.
Mm. Mm. And then we have true or false. CVA and cardiac condition can be closely related.
True, because I think they both have to do with like the circulatory system and
Yeah,
things like that.
I agree. And then remember, prompt treatment of CVA can make a difference, significant difference in patient or outcomes. It is essential to notify a doctor or nurse immediately if signs and symptoms of CVA are seen. Very important. We all know that. And remember this acronym. Okay, what does F stand for? What does A stand for? What does S stand for? And what does T stand for? Please write it somewhere. Very important. And I believe, did I see? I think I saw this on my
It's
NHS.
basically the things that you would do for a stroke. And so you would identify like the face, basically, if there's like a facial droop,
Mhm.
by telling the patient to smile. And if there's a droop, you'll be able to obviously see it. And then arm is basically you being able to raise their arms. And if they're having a stroke, it'll tell you which side, because one of their arms will start falling down or they won't be able to raise it. And then
Mhm.
S stands for their speech. So if you, as they're talking to you, how's their speech sounding? Is it slurred, etc.? And time is, people say time is life. And so you don't want to waste time. You want to call for help immediately when you start seeing these symptoms for a stroke.
Yeah, very important because why are they saying time? Dr. Tarasi can agree to it that sometimes when they are able to go to the emergency room on time, they are able to they have a medication that they are able to reverse this stroke, right, Dr. Tarasi?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes we shouldn't waste time. Yeah, define the following term: nitroglycerin, a medication sometimes given during cardiac emergencies to relax or dilate the coronary arteries. Yeah, so you guys, you may come across nitroglycerin. Normally, it's kept in a dark bottle. They don't want any sunlight, so the person will take like 5 minutes. After 5 minutes may take another one, after 5 minutes may take, and then if it doesn't work, the chest pain is not gone or nothing, then you definitely have to send the person out. Yeah. Then the scope of practice of EKG technician usually does not include administering medication. Some EKG technician may receive special training to administer oxygen in certain situations or to be allowed to assist patients taking their own medication. Always follow facility work policy. Very important. And then what is the function of each of these medication in a cardiac emergency? Oxygen, of course, we know. Aspirin helps a lot with blood to prevent blood clot. Nitroglycerin dilate the coronary artery. Any question on that? All right. And then our patients might be monitored closely after medication is given. Very important, especially if the medication is a new medication. And then why is remain calm, often listed as the first thing to do in an emergency situation. And I just um, explained that to you. When you are calm and able to direct everybody around you, then things will go well. Yeah, but if there is chaos, nobody is going to. You guys will even forget to call 911. Okay, so it's kind of like calm down, direct. Hey, you do this, you do that. Okay, and that helps. And while the person is doing gone, you are also doing something that will help the person who is a victim. Why do you think emergency response is practiced multiple times? Why is it important to always participate? Very important. We do that, like in the facility, especially We have times that we do emergency fire drill, we do emergency that, we do emergency that, because you never know. What And that's one of the things we do, the race. What do race and pass means? Have to do with responding to a fire. So we do the race. Who knows what the race is? R is what? Race and pass. So in case you are MA and something happens, you are in the office and you have to.
Doesn't pass have to do with the fire extinguisher? Is
Yes,
it like
yes,
full aim, sweep and spray or something like?
Yeah.
yes. Very good. Very good. That's right. Okay. Please, not big fires. Please don't go and do, even if it's a small fire, still call 911, please. But at least no. And I remember when I showed you guys in class, I pulled the fire extinguisher and I showed you guys. Um so the race is what? Rescue what?
The people that you can.
Uh-huh. And then
Pull,
when you rescue, what do you do?
you pull the alarm.
Mm-hmm. And then what?
And then I think C, I remember it was like if like you feel the back of the door or something and there's a fire, like close it, like try to contain the fire or something.
Contain the fire, close it,
Mm-hmm.
and then the E is what?
Is it extinguish?
Look
Maybe.
it
Yeah.
Hopefully
Okay.
it's evacuate, because that's what I'm going to be doing.
But
Evacuate. So
no,
extinguish has to go with the
extinguish.
fire. Mhm. So
It's
you have
extinguish.
you have to evacuate
The building.
yeah, you have to evacuate is it, look it up. I think, yeah, that's what it is.
It's extinguish.
Extinguish rather. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go with extinguish. All right. And then in group, choose one of the emergency disaster situations listed on page 161 to 162 of the textbook. Discuss why you think each guidelines is suggested for the situation. Yeah, so definitely you guys will be doing fire drills, you'll be doing race, you'll be doing pass. Just, you never know, you know. Um, it means that's why every 2 years or every year or so, depending, you have to do CPR, just to refresh your mind on what to do if there's an emergency situation. List this arrhythmias that require immediate intervention. And then how does the EKG technician know her role in an emergency? Three, if an emergency situation occur in a large multi-story building, what should the EKG technician do to make sure emergency services get the patient without delay? So all these are things is good when you get to your facility. It's very, very important to know all this. Even where the building evacuation, you should be able to know where if there is emergency, where to exit, where to go, where to tell your patient to go and stand. All this, trust me, you never know when it will occur. So it's good to know the exits. Some people have been in the building, they don't even know where the steps in the building is located. It's always they take elevator and they don't even know where the steps are located. It's very important to know all this. And then why is it important to keep the patient seated and calm if the EKG technician suspect the patient is having an MR? Yeah. Describe the recovery position and when it is used. So that's when you put the person on what? Their side, right? And then you still continue to monitor them. And then what type of dysrhythmia is treated with an AED? What type of dysrhythmia is treated with what? An AED. Dr. Tadas, is it abnormal?
Asystole.
Yeah. Like the systole and the VFib.
Yeah. So
Mm.
that's when you know, when you check the pulse, there's no pulse, definitely we should know how to do the AED. So or all of you, if you haven't taken CPR for a long time, it's very, very important. Any job, yeah, and again, you guys need to start preparing your resumes and everything. We are almost done. People will hire you in a bit when you finish your exams. Okay, so prepare. And the first thing they ask you when you go, they are going to ask you for CPR. So you guys, if you don't have CPR, you need to do CPR because they will not hire you without CPR. That's a must. So if you all of you need CPR, plan so that you can do it together one of the days.
When are you offering it again? Do you know?
Oh, we offer CPR like almost every other day at the office. Then what is the difference between TIA and CVA? We just discussed that, right? You remember?
Yeah,
What
the TIA is like a mini stroke, and the CVA is a cerebral vascular accident, which is the actual full-on stroke.
and what did we say about the TIA? It lasts for how long?
Symptoms
than 24
disappear within
hours.
24 hours.
Good. What precaution is necessary for the UK technician? Um, it's necessary the UK technician assist the patient to take his own hydroxychloroquine for change. Okay. Just keep an eye on them, yeah, especially when they take any medication. And then what type of information is included in a disaster plan? So it's very, very important to know your disaster plan. All this, sometimes we teach, but when we go, we don't take it into consideration. You never know when it will happen. So please know all this disaster plan. Know when there is an emergency, yeah, what do you do if you are with a company, if you are there? Please know all this. Okay.
For the nitroglycerin, you do tell the patient not to chew it or crush it or anything. Is that correct?
Yeah, nitroglycerin, I believe, goes under, if I'm not mistaken, it's under the tongue.
Under the tongue.
It's
Just you put it under the tongue. You don't need
under the
to.
tongue. And under the tongue, what is the word? Since you brought this up, what is the word?
Sublingual.
Okay,
Sublingual.
answered for you guys. Okay, no problem.
Sublingual.
So you have to be, and all this is how it's going to be. Nobody is going to say put the medication under the tongue. The doctor is going to be like, oh, this medication is sublingual. So as an MA, that means you already know what sublingual is. So that's why it is important. We need to go over some medical abbreviation again. I know we did a little bit. Yeah, so remember those basic ones, please. Sublingual, PO. What else can you guys mention? What else can you tell me? What is BID? Give the medication BID.
Twice a day.
Twice daily.
Okay, good. Give the medication PO. What does that mean?
ml.
Good. So you guys remember. All right. So sublingual. What is subcutaneous? I believe I mentioned subcutaneous one of the days. Give the medication subcutaneous.
Under the skin.
Not the skin. So that's good. All right. You guys remember all your terms. All right. What 4 actions are often recommended in a healthcare facility for responding to a fire? We already mentioned that. And then what is the pass? You guys know that already, so there's no need. And then that's it. That's it. And only 5 minutes we are done because you guys took your 30 minutes break and it was left with 30 minutes. So we can close at 9:30 exactly. But Dr. Tadasi, as we are wrapping up, what advice, encouragement, whatever you have to give it to them, because I know some of them still have some blood drawn. I was able to talk to one of the doctors in the area that says they can come. Even tomorrow would have been good, but because we didn't give them enough notice, I didn't tell the doctor. But if anybody needs it during the week, definitely, yeah. Or if you can bring your family members, it doesn't matter. I'll be in the office in the morning. I will be in the office throughout the whole week, if God's will. Yeah. So if you want to bring them, do the medications, yeah. And also I will see if we have some people coming to do CPR ahead of time. I can let you know, so that when they come, we can just ask them. Some of them will not consent to it, maybe one or two will do, but I have to look if we have people who have signed up for CPR class. Yeah, so that's it. Dr. Taras, anything? Yeah.
I think so. The blood draw is now the EKG. Almost you are on the way to finish. Yes, EKGs.
I need 3 more personally, and I had 2 people coming tonight, but because of the snow, I told them don't come. So I think they're going to come on Wednesday now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I think you are very close. The only thing is the blood draw. So
And we will do our best, but even if we do our what is it called, our graduation on that 10th, and you are not done, I mean, just I think you guys will be able to do. Let's try, but that doesn't mean you should be shaking or yeah, but everybody should be able to. That's why yesterday I gave you time to go through your book. Let us know what you need. Yeah, if we have to even call our own family members to come and help you to finish up, please, we will do that. So let us know.
I think you should be okay. I think just then you will have also the exam. So I think last time did we schedule the time that
No, so that's another thing I wanted to talk to you. The exam, is it the one you gave it to Daryl, or you haven't given it to Daryl yet?
no, I think long time. I remember I put it in the office in the folder.
In the folder.
But yeah, can you get that one? Otherwise, I think I need to
Unless
bring.
yeah, I have to find where it is, honestly. I know
Yeah,
you gave it to me, right?
yeah. I gave you like all of so that those are the copies. Then you
Mm.
can just print them and then you can.
Honestly, I have to go and look. Maybe it's hiding somewhere. But if you can give me a new one, I'll definitely
So
print it. Yeah.
yeah, I think I have to bring. So I will bring it.
So this one you want them to do on the paper.
Yeah.
Is
So
that
yeah.
okay? So it's not in the computer. Oh,
Oh, on the yeah. So she can put it on the computer. I think I can. So what I do will be.
yeah, if you
Uh,
give it to me this
yeah,
week, if you give it to me today, I can give it to her to work on it over the weekend so that
yeah,
they can.
yeah. I'm not sure if I have the. I have it here on my. It
I can
is.
forward it to her right after we finish, so it will
Yeah.
be easier. It will grade right when they finish. Um, what else? So that's one. The exams, if she is able to do it, then they can do it anytime, right? At what when you want at what time?
Yeah, that means we can. But that should not be really like next week. But before they take the your certificates, then you have to do the exam.
Oh yeah, so next week they can do it. Yeah, they can.
Yeah. So let's say if you are ready next week, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, but
If
next week,
not, uh, or maybe the other week.
no problem. Yeah, I think by Thursday they should be fine. Wednesday or Thursday they should be able to take it. Yeah, so if you give it to me, I'll give it to the role to put it there.
Yeah. Okay. I
Unless
think I have to.
you do it on the paper,
Uh,
but so it will be easier to put it in the computer.
I have because I have it on my other computer,
Oh,
so I have to. Yeah. I think Monday. Either I will email it to you
all right.
on Monday.
On Monday. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, no problem then. All right. Anything else, everybody? It's 9:31. All right. Then
No, have a good weekend.
you too. You all have a good weekend. Don't forget to sign out by 10, please. Dr. Tadasi, thank you very much. That was a wonderful lecture.
Thank you,
Honestly,
Emilia. Thank you, all of you. Thank you.
yeah.
Have a nice weekend.
You
All
too.
right.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Daddy.
And you stuck in.